Hello guys, welcome to Saiyan What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Goku fought Beerus as a teen? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Sleeping God Awakens. The cosmic anomaly rippled through the universe like a stone cast into still water. In the distant realm of Beerus's planet, where time itself seemed to flow differently, the disturbance penetrated the sacred chambers of the god of destruction. Nestled among silken pillows that floated mysteriously above the ground, Lord Beerus's ears twitched. His eyes, close, for what should have been decades more, flickered beneath thin purple lids. Whis, standing sentinel with his staff, observed the anomaly's effects with mild surprise. The temporal calculations had been precise. Beerus shouldn't awaken for another 39 years. Yet the energy signature emanating from a distant blue planet had somehow penetrated the god's slumber. My lord, Whis's melodious voice carried across the chamber as Beerus's tail began to lash in agitation. It seems your nap is concluding prematurely. The god of destruction's eyes snapped open, golden irises gleaming with ancient power. He stretched languidly, feline muscles rippling beneath his skin as consciousness returned. I was having the most peculiar dream, Beerus murmured, voice raspy from disuse. Something about a mortal with extraordinary potential. A Saiyan, I believe. He yawned, revealing pointed teeth. How unusual. Whis tapped his staff gently against the floor, projecting a holographic display of the universe. Fascinating timing, my lord. I've detected an unusual energy signature from the planet Earth, primitive, yet possessing remarkable potential. Coincidentally, records indicate Surviving Saiyans may have found their way there. Beerus's ears perked up, his drowsiness instantly forgotten. As that's so, perhaps my dream wasn't mere fancy after all. He rose to his feet, stretching in before fixing Whis with a calculating gaze. Set a course for this, Earth. I find myself suddenly hungry. On a small island in the middle of Earth's vast ocean, 16-year-old son Goku stood balanced on a single finger, defying gravity with impossible ease. 250 push-ups completed, 250 to go. Sweat glistened on his forehead but his breathing remained steady, controlled. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly, yet the young martial artist appeared unfazed. 251, 252. From the shade of Kame House, Master Roshi watched his young pupil with quiet pride. The boy had surpassed all expectations at the recent World Martial Arts Tournament. Though he hadn't claimed victory, his performance had stunned spectators and participants alike. Even Jackie Chun, Roshi's own disguised persona, had barely managed to defeat him. The boy is something else, Roshi murmured to himself, taking a sip from his coconut drink. At this rate, he'll surpass me before he turns 18. Krillin, sitting cross-legged nearby, nodded in agreement. It's almost not fair. I train just as hard, but Goku's always 3 steps ahead. Despite his words, there was no real resentment in his voice, merely awe tinged with friendly competitiveness. 299, 300. With a graceful flip, Goku landed on his feet, grinning broadly as he wiped sweat from his brow. His wild hair defied the humidity, standing up in characteristic spikes. That felt great. What's next, Master Roshi? Before the old master could respond, a strange sensation washed over the island. The air seemed to thicken, waves stilling as though time itself hesitated. Birds that had been circling overhead suddenly changed direction, fleeing as one. Goku's smile vanished, replaced by an expression of intense focus. He turned his gaze skyward, sensing something his companions could not. Something's coming, he said quietly. Roshi set down his drink, ancient instincts stirring. In his centuries of life, he had felt many powerful beings, but this was different. Goku, Krillin, get behind me, he ordered, rising to his feet with surprising agility. But Master, Krillin began. Now, Roshi barked, uncharacteristically stern. The sky directly above them began to glow with ethereal light, swirling into what appeared to be a tunnel stretching into infinity. A staff emerged first, tall, blue, topped with a glowing orb, followed by its bearer, a tall, blue-skinned humanoid with white hair swept upward in regal attire. Behind him stepped a slender, purple feline being dressed in ornate Egyptian-style clothing, golden bands encircling his wrists and neck. The newcomers descended gracefully, touching down on the beach without disturbing a single grain of sand. The air around them seemed to bend, reality itself acknowledging their presence. "My, what a quaint little planet," remarked the taller being, looking around with mild curiosity. "Though rather underdeveloped, wouldn't you say, Lord Beerus?" The feline being, Beerus, yawned disinterestedly. "They all look the same after a while, Whis. Let's just find this potential you sensed and determine if it's worth my time." Goku stepped forward before Roshi could stop him, curiosity overriding caution. "Hey there, I'm Goku. Are you guys here for training with Master Roshi too?" Beerus's ears twitched as his gaze settled on the young Saiyan. Something flickered in those ancient eyes, recognition, perhaps, or calculation. Interesting. A Saiyan child on this backwater world. He approached Goku, circling him with predatory grace. "Yes, there's something different about this one, Whis. His power is undeveloped, yet the potential is unusual." "Indeed, my lord," Whis agreed, studying Goku through narrowed eyes. "Though not yet close to godly, the foundation is remarkable for a mortal so young." Master Roshi moved forward with deliberate calm, positioning himself slightly ahead of his students. "Esteemed visitors," he said carefully, recognition dawning in his eyes, "may I ask what brings beings of your distinction to our humble island?" Whis turned to Roshi, with a pleasant smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Oh my, an earthling who recognizes divinity when he sees it. How refreshing." "Divinity?" Krillin whispered, confused. "Master, what's going on?" Roshi's voice dropped to a tense whisper. "Be silent and show respect, boy. If I'm not mistaken, we're in the presence of Lord Beerus, the god of destruction." A tense silence fell over the island. Even the waves seemed to quiet in deference. Krillin's face paled, but Goku's expression showed only intensifying curiosity. "God of destruction," Goku repeated, eyes widening with excitement rather than fear. "You must be incredibly strong." Beerus's lips curved into something between a smile and a sneer. "Your perception exceeds your manners, young Saiyan." His tail swished lazily behind him. "Yes, I am Lord Beerus, destroyer of worlds. Balancer of creation. This is my attendant, Whis." Whis bowed with elegant precision. "A pleasure." Goku bowed awkwardly in return before straightening, unable to contain his enthusiasm. "Would you spar with me? I've never fought a god before." "Goku," Master Roshi hissed, horrified. Beerus's eyes widened fractionally, perhaps the first time in millennia someone had surprised him. Then he laughed, a sound like distant thunder. "How amusing. The monkey wants to challenge a god." His expression hardened suddenly. "Very well, consider it your audition, boy." Before anyone could react, Beerus flicked a single finger. The casual gesture generated a shockwave that sent Goku flying backward, crashing through several palm trees before skidding across the ocean surface. He eventually managed to halt himself, dripping wet but apparently unharmed. "Wow," Goku exclaimed, genuine admiration in his voice as he flew back to the island. "That was amazing. I didn't even see you move." Beerus studied the boy with slightly more interest. "You're still conscious. Perhaps there is something to you after all." He yawned theatrically. "Entertain me, Saiyan. Show me your full power." Goku's expression turned serious, the transformation striking in one so young. He widened his stance, arms positioned in perfect form. The air around him began to shimmer as he focused his ki. Power gathering with impressive speed. Stones levitated around him, water retreated from the shoreline, and a blue-white aura flickered to life around his compact frame. "H-A-A-A-A-A." With a primal shout, Goku unleashed his full power, the aura solidifying around him. The island trembled, waves forming perfect concentric circles from the epicenter of his power. Master Roshi steadied himself against the Kame house, eyes wide behind his sunglasses. "Impossible," he whispered. "When did he grow this powerful?" Beerus remained unimpressed, though one ear twitched slightly. "Is that all? Come then, show me what a young Saiyan can do." Goku launched forward, moving faster than human eyes could track. His first punch was aimed perfectly, and passed through empty air as Beerus sidestepped with minimal movement. Undeterred, Goku pivoted instantly, launching into a complex series of strikes that showcased training far beyond his years. For nearly a full minute, Goku attacked with everything he had, each move flowing into the next with natural precision. Not a single blow landed. Beerus dodged with almost lazy grace, never moving more than necessary, expression unchanging. Enough, Beerus said finally, intercepting Goku's fist with a single finger. Your technique is adequate for a mortal, I suppose. With that understated assessment, he tapped Goku's chest with his finger. The resulting impact sent the young Saiyan flying upward with such force that he disappeared into the clouds. Seconds later, he plummeted back to Earth, creating a small crater in the beach upon impact. Despite the devastating blow, Goku staggered back to his feet, bruised but grinning. That was incredible, he managed, coughing slightly. I've never met anyone so strong. Of course you haven't, Beerus replied, examining his claws with disinterest. I am a god, after all. Whis, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. His resilience is noteworthy, Lord Beerus. And that fighting instinct, classic Saiyan traits, but refined in interesting ways. Perhaps, Beerus conceded. He fixed Goku with a penetrating stare. Boy, you possess potential, raw, undeveloped, but present nonetheless. Ordinarily, I would destroy this planet and move on with my day, but I find myself curious. Master Roshi paled. Destroy the planet. Beerus ignored him, addressing Goku directly. I propose a challenge, young Saiyan. I will return to Earth in exactly 1 year. If you can land even a single solid blow on me by then, I'll spare your insignificant world. His lips curved in a predatory smile. Consider it motivation for your training. Goku's eyes lit up with determination. 1 year to get strong enough to hit you. I accept, Goku, Krillin exclaimed. You can't make that kind of deal. The whole planet's at stake. Which is why I have to accept, Goku replied with simple logic. Besides, this is the ultimate challenge. How could I say no? Beerus chuckled, the sound somehow both amused and menacing. I like your spirit, boy. Don't disappoint me. He turned to Whis. We're finished here. Though perhaps, the god of destruction paused, then addressed his attendant. Whis, I believe this experiment might benefit from additional elements. Your apprentice has been complaining about needing practical experience, hasn't she? Whis raised an elegant eyebrow. Ayame, my lord, are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything, I'm telling you to bring her here. Let her observe this Saiyan's progress. Consider it part of her education. As you wish, Lord Beerus. Whis tapped his staff twice on the ground. The air beside him shimmered, and a new figure materialized. She appeared to be a young woman, perhaps 18 or 19 in human terms, though there was something ageless about her bearing. Her hair fell in a silver cascade to her waist, contrasting with bronze skin that seemed to hold an inner luminescence. Her attire resembled Whis', though more fitted accented with celestial symbols that seemed to shift position when viewed directly. Most striking were her eyes, pale lavender with star-shaped pupils that contained swirling galaxies within. Her expression was one of carefully controlled disdain as she surveyed her surroundings. My apprentice, Ayame, Whis introduced with a flourish. Former princess of the celestial harmonies, last survivor of Nova Zenith, and current student of divine protocols. Ayame bowed precisely, just deep enough to acknowledge Beerus without suggesting subservience. Lord Beerus, she said, her voice carrying musical undertones. I was not informed of an excursion today. Plans change, Beerus replied dismissively. You will remain on Earth until my return. Observe the Saiyan's progress. Report anything of interest. For a fraction of a second, Ayame's perfect composure slipped, revealing shock and displeasure. My lord, surely there are more valuable uses for my. Are you questioning me, apprentice? Beerus asked softly, dangerously. Ayame immediately bowed lower. Never, Lord Beerus. I live to serve the divine hierarchy. Excellent. Beerus turned to Whis. I'm bored now. Let's depart. Whis nodded, then addressed Ayame. Consider this practical education, my dear. The interaction between mortal potential and divine energy is precisely what we discussed last millennium. He smiled benignly. Do try not to look so horrified. Time passes differently for beings like us, a year will be but a moment. With that, Whis tapped his staff 3 times. The air shimmered around him and Beerus, and both vanished in a column of light that shot upward into the heavens. A stunned silence fell over the island. Ayame stood rigidly, radiating displeasure. Goku, despite his injuries, approached her with characteristic directness. "Hi, I'm Goku," he said brightly, extending a hand. "I guess we'll be training together." Ayame regarded his hand as though it were a particularly repulsive insect. "I do not train with mortals. I observe them." She turned away dismissively. "Do not mistake my presence for camaraderie." Master Roshi cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should all calm down and discuss the situation rationally. Miss Ayame, you're welcome to stay at Kame House, though accommodations are. Your shelter is unnecessary," she interrupted. "I do not require mortal comforts." With a casual gesture, she created a perfect sphere of energy that expanded to form a transparent dome at the far end of the island. Within seconds, it had transformed into an elegant pavilion that somehow appeared both solid and ethereal. Constructed from materials that shifted like opalescent clouds. "I will observe from there," she stated. "Do not disturb me unnecessarily." With that, she glided, not walked, toward her newly created dwelling, leaving the humans and Goku staring after her. "Well, she seems nice," Krillin commented sarcastically. Goku, surprisingly, looked thoughtful rather than discouraged. "She Saint be really strong to be Whis' student. I wonder if she'll teach me some of her techniques." "Goku," Master Roshi said gravely, "I think you're missing the bigger picture here. A god of destruction has threatened to destroy Earth if you can't land a single blow on him in a year. This is far beyond anything we've encountered before." "I know," Goku replied, his expression turning serious. "That's why I have to get much stronger. Starting right now." His eyes gleamed with determination. "Master, I need to train harder than ever before." Roshi stroked his beard thoughtfully. "My training can only take you so far, Goku. Against a deity, we need to explore other options." "Like what?" Before Roshi could answer, a new voice carried across the island. "Like the sacred techniques of the Eastern Temple, perhaps." Everyone turned toward the source. Standing at the shoreline was a young woman they hadn't noticed arrive. She appeared to be in her early 20s, with jet black hair tied in a practical braid that reached her waist. Her attire consisted of a deep blue Changshan modified for combat, with intricate gold embroidery depicting dragons and celestial symbols. A jade pendant hung from a silver chain around her neck, glowing faintly. "Who are you?" Krillin demanded, immediately dropping into a defensive stance. The woman approached calmly, her movements betraying extensive martial arts training in every subtle shift of weight and balance. "My name is Lien. I am a guardian from the Temple of Celestial Knowledge." She fixed her gaze on Goku. "And I have been looking for you, son Goku." "For me? Why?" Goku asked, curiosity overriding caution. Lien's expression remained serious. 3 days ago, our sacred texts began to glow. The ancient warnings were activated. Divine beings have taken interest in Earth. Her eyes narrowed slightly. The text specifically mentioned a young warrior with a tail. Goku's tail twitched reflexively behind him. "These texts knew about me. Not you specifically," Lien clarified. "But they warned of a convergence, a moment when mortal and divine realms would intersect through a warrior of exceptional potential." She glanced toward Ayame's pavilion. "I see I'm already too late to prevent the initial contact." Master Roshi stepped forward, studying Lien with new interest. "The Temple of Celestial Knowledge. I thought it was merely a legend. Many prefer it remains so." Lien replied cryptically. "But these are exceptional circumstances." She turned to Goku again. "You've been challenged by Lord Beerus himself. The fact that he offered a challenge rather than immediate destruction is significant and dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Krillin asked. "Because others will take notice," Lien said gravely. "A mortal acknowledged by God of destruction becomes a focus point in the cosmic balance. There are entities who will seek to eliminate such a variable." As if summoned by her words, the sky darkened suddenly. Unlike the elegant display that had heralded Beerus and Whis, this was an unnatural twilight that seemed to leach color from the surroundings. The temperature dropped precipitously, and the ocean grew still as glass. "They're already here," Lien whispered. Eyes widening, she moved with astonishing speed, placing herself between Goku and the darkening sky. "Stay behind me. What's happening?" Goku asked, not frightened but alert, dropping instinctively into a fighting stance. From the artificial darkness descended three figures, each wearing identical obsidian armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their faces were concealed behind masks carved to resemble skulls, with glowing violet light emanating from the eye sockets. They moved with perfect synchronization, touching down on the beach in a triangular formation. The central figure spoke, its voice reverberating unnaturally. "The balance has been disturbed. The anomaly must be eliminated." Lien unsheathed a short sword that had been hidden within her robes, a blade that gleamed with strange symbols along its length. "Agents of the equilibrium," she stated, recognition and fear mingling in her voice. "You have no authority here." "The cosmic equilibrium has authority everywhere," replied the figure. "Stand aside, Guardian. Our quarrel is not with you. If you threaten him, your quarrel is with me," Lien responded, sword held in perfect form. From her pavilion, Ayame emerged, looking more irritated than concerned. "Equilibrium enforcers, here," she sighed dramatically. "How tedious. Lord Beerus will be most displeased if his experiment is terminated prematurely." Quote, the central figure turned toward her. "Celestial apprentice, this matter does not concern the god of destruction. The anomaly threatens the ordained progression." Ayame's eyes narrowed. "Everything concerns Lord Beerus when he decides it does. You overstep your jurisdiction." While they argued, Goku studied the newcomers with intense focus. Despite their intimidating appearance, he could sense their energy, different from Ki, more regulated and artificial, but still detectable. "Hey," he called out, stepping forward despite Lien's attempt to keep him back, "if you've come to fight me, just say so. No need to talk about anomalies and whatever." The three figures turned to him simultaneously. "The anomaly speaks," said one. "It does not understand its nature," said another. "Irrelevant," concluded the third. Elimination protocols initiated. They moved as one, launching toward Goku with weapons materializing in their hands, energy scythes that hummed with destructive potential. Lien intercepted the first, her sword connecting with the scythe in a shower of sparks that defied physics, seeming to crystallize in the air before shattering. Krillin bravely engaged the second, his superior technique temporarily offsetting the attacker's greater power. Master Roshi expanded to his muscular form, attempting to grapple with the third. Goku, never one to let others fight his battles, flipped over Lien and delivered a powerful kick to her opponent's midsection. The blow connected solidly, but the figure showed no reaction, merely adjusting its angle of attack. "Physical attacks alone won't harm them," Lien shouted, executing a complex maneuver that momentarily disrupted her opponent's energy. "Their constructs infused with regulatory energy from beyond the mortal realm. Then what will hurt them?" Goku called back, dodging a scythe swing that came within millimeters of his throat. "You need to disrupt their core matrix," Lien explained between parries. "A focused energy attack, precisely delivered." Goku nodded in understanding. He leapt backward, creating distance, then cupped his hands at his side. "Me." Blue energy began to coalesce between his palms, swirling with increasing intensity. "Me." The three figures seemed to recognize the threat. They broke off their individual battles and converged toward Goku, weapons raised. Goku thrust his hands forward, releasing a Kamehameha wave that illuminated the island with blue light. The beam struck the central figure directly, enveloping it in energy. When the light faded, the figure remained standing, though its armor showed cracks with violet energy seeping through. "Insufficient power," it stated, voice distorting slightly. "Countermeasures engaged." All three raised their free hands simultaneously. The air around Goku thickened, pressure increasing exponentially. He gritted his teeth, fighting against the invisible force attempting to crush him. "Goku!" Krillin shouted in alarm. From her position near her pavilion, Ayame observed with clinical detachment. "Interesting. They're using multidimensional compression. Crude, but effective against mortals." Lien glared at her. Instead of commenting, "Perhaps you could help." "Help mortals against equilibrium enforcers?" Ayame scoffed. "That would violate at least 17 cosmic protocols." The pressure around Goku intensified. Blood vessels became visible on his forehead as he struggled against forces he couldn't even see. Yet remarkably, he remained standing, his determination unbroken. I won't give up, he managed through gritted teeth. Everyone's counting on me. Something in his words or perhaps his indomitable spirit seemed to affect Ayame. She frowned, then sighed dramatically. This is against my better judgment, but Lord Beerus did instruct me to observe the Saiyan's progress, which necessitates his survival. With elegant precision, she traced a complex pattern in the air. Temporal disruption. Minor sequence. The air around the three attackers shimmered. Their movements suddenly became erratic, as though they were fighting against invisible currents. The pressure on Goku instantly released. What did you do? Lien asked, amazed. I merely adjusted their temporal perception by approximately 0.003 seconds, Ayame explained dismissively. A minor technique, taught to celestial apprentices in their first century. Despite her casual tone, a faint sheen of sweat had appeared on her brow, suggesting the technique wasn't quite as effortless as she claimed. Goku, freed from the crushing pressure, wasted no time. Krillin, Master Roshi, let's combine our attacks. Understanding instantly, Master Roshi and Krillin positioned themselves to form a triangle with Goku, each beginning to charge their own Kamehameha. Kamehameha! All three shouted in unison, their beams converging on the disoriented attackers. The resulting explosion of energy was blinding, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When visibility returned, the beach where the three figures had stood was transformed into glass, the sand superheated by the combined energy. Of the attackers themselves, only three small, crystalline objects remained, violet cores the size of marbles, pulsing weakly. Lien approached cautiously, producing a small box from within her robes. Using her sword as a tool, she carefully deposited the cores into the container without touching them. Essence cores, she explained. The controlling intelligence of the enforcers. They'll be inactive for now, but we should properly contain them. Quote, Goku exhaled deeply, the bottle's adrenaline beginning to subside. Despite his exhaustion, his eyes shone with excitement. That was incredible. Who were those guys? What's the cosmic equilibrium? How did you do that thing with your sword? Lien secured the box with a complex lock before responding. Those were equilibrium enforcers, constructs created to eliminate threats to the cosmic order. As for the rest, she glanced at the others, then at Ayame, who had already begun retreating to her pavilion. It's a long explanation, one best conducted somewhere more secure. Kame house is secure, Krillin offered. Lien shook her head, not against what may be coming next. The equilibrium rarely sends only one team. She turned to Goku. I came here to bring you to the Temple of Celestial Knowledge. Now I see it's even more urgent than I realized. Master Roshi stepped forward. I'll not have my student whisked away without explanation. Master, with all respect, Lien replied. Bowing slightly, your techniques cannot prepare him to face a god of destruction. The ancient temple contains knowledge specifically preserved for this very scenario. Goku looked between his master and Lien, indecision clear on his face for perhaps the first time. Master Roshi has taught me everything I know about martial arts. And he has taught you exceptionally well, Lien acknowledged. But what you face now goes beyond martial arts. You need to understand the nature of divine energy, the weaknesses even gods possess, the techniques developed over millennia. Specifically to bridge the gap between mortal and deity. She's right, Goku, Roshi said after a moment's contemplation. I've taught you what I can, but this. He gestured vaguely skyward, indicating Beerus's recent presence. This is beyond my expertise. Goku nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of the situation. Then I'll go to this temple and learn what I need to. He turned to Krillin. Will you come too? Before Krillin could answer, Lien interjected. I'm sorry, but the temple's most sacred techniques can only be taught to the one mentioned in the prophecy. Seeing Krillin's crestfallen expression, she added. Though there are outer chambers where others can train in supporting methods. Krillin brightened. Well, I can't let you have all the fun, Goku. Someone's got to keep you from getting too full of yourself. Ayame, who had been listening despite pretending disinterest, spoke from the entrance of her pavilion. This is all very touching, but you realize you're wasting valuable training time with these emotional displays. Everyone turned to look at her. Surprisingly, Goku laughed. She's right. We've only got a year, and I've got to get strong enough to hit the most powerful being I've ever seen. His expression turned serious, determination radiating from him like a tangible force. Let's not waste another minute. Lien nodded approvingly. We should leave immediately. The temple is hidden deep in the mountains, several days' journey even for one as fast as you, Goku. What about her? Krillin asked, jerking a thumb toward Ayame. The celestial apprentice raised an elegant eyebrow. If you're referring to me, mortal, I am perfectly capable of transporting myself wherever I need to be. She examined her nails with affected boredom. I suppose I'm you. Saint follow you to this temple. Since Lord Beerus commanded I observe the Saiyan's progress. Great, Goku exclaimed with genuine enthusiasm. Maybe you could teach me some of your techniques too. Aim stared at him as though he'd suggested something obscene. Teach immortal celestial techniques? Absolutely not. Why not? Goku asked, genuinely confused. Because such knowledge is reserved for beings with the capacity to comprehend it, she replied coldly. Mortals lack the necessary perspective and lifespan. Rather than being discouraged, Goku grinned. Sounds like a challenge to me. I bet I can prove you wrong. For a fraction of a second, something like surprise flickered across Ayame's perfect features before her mask of disdain returned. Your confidence is as misplaced as it is amusing. Lien interrupted what promised to become a lengthy argument. We should prepare to leave. The enforcers' defeat will have been reported. Others will come. Others, Krillin squeaked. The equilibrium has many agents, each designed for specific threats, Lien explained grimly. Those were merely basic enforcers. If they escalate to arbiters or negators. Right, Goku nodded, suddenly serious. Let's go. As they prepared to depart, gathering only essential supplies, Master Roshi approached Goku privately. Listen, my boy, he said, voice low and grave. I've lived many years and heard many legends. Gods of destruction are not to be taken lightly. Their power is absolute within their domain. I know, Master, Goku replied. But he offered a challenge, not a death sentence. That means he thinks there's a chance. However small. Roshi nodded slowly. Perhaps. But remember this. True strength comes not just from power, but from wisdom. Learn not just how to fight, but when and why. Goku absorbed his master's words with uncharacteristic solemnity. I will, Master. And I'll make you proud. As the small group prepared to depart, Lien checking her mysterious box one last time, Krillin gathering supplies, and Ayame dismantling her pavilion with a casual wave of her hand, none noticed the subtle distortion in reality that briefly formed at the edge of the island. Within that distortion, invisible to mortal and celestial eyes alike, a figure observed. Neither enforcer nor any known cosmic entity, it watched with calculated interest before dissolving back into the fabric of space-time. Carrying its observations to an unknown recipient, the pieces were moving on the cosmic board. The young Saiyan had taken his first step onto a much larger stage, one where gods and monsters played games with the fate of worlds, and where ancient prophecies began their long, inexorable journey toward fulfillment. For Goku, the true challenge was just beginning. Chapter 2. Across the Stars. The Temple of Celestial Knowledge nestled within Earth's most treacherous mountain range, hidden from civilization by both geographical isolation and subtle energetic barriers that dissuaded casual explorers. Vast stone structures, impossibly ancient yet perfectly preserved, emerged organically from the mountainside as though the peaks themselves had decided to take architectural form. Carven GS depicting cosmic entities adorned every surface, telling stories of a universe far more complex than most mortals could comprehend. Goku stood at the temple's main entrance, eyes wide with wonder rather than intimidation. 3 weeks had passed since their departure from Kame House, 3 weeks of intense training under Lien's guidance. Even the journey itself had been part of his education, weighted clothing increasing incrementally and meditation exercises performed while navigating treacherous terrain. This place feels alive, Goku observed, sensing the subtle energy currents flowing through the stone. Like it's watching us. Lien nodded appreciatively. Your sensitivity has improved. The temple exists simultaneously in multiple dimensional planes. What you're feeling is the overlap between realities. Behind them, Krillin struggled to catch his breath, the thin mountain air taxing his endurance. Multiple dimensions. Is that why? My ears keep Popping. Ayame, who had transported herself directly to their destination rather than traveling with the mortals, examined the temple with reluctant interest. Primitive, but not without sophistication, she conceded. Quote, "These anchor points," she gestured to specific carvings, "are surprisingly precise dimensional markers. Almost celestial in their calculation. The temple was built with guidance from beings beyond our realm," Lien explained as she approached the massive doors. She placed her palm against an unremarkable section of stone, which immediately illuminated with intricate patterns. "The Guardians have preserved their knowledge for thousands of years, waiting for the moment it would be needed." The doors, each standing 30 feet tall and carved from single slabs of iridescent stone, began to open silently inward, revealing a vast circular chamber illuminated by light sources that seemed to have no physical origin. Within stood a dozen figures in robes similar to Lien's, arranged in a perfect semicircle. At their center stood an elderly man with a beard that reached his waist, his robes more elaborately adorned than the others. "Master Kai Zenith," Lien addressed him with a deep bow. "I have returned with the one mentioned in the prophecy." The old master studied Goku with penetrating eyes that belied his apparent age. "So this is the mortal who caught Beerus's attention," he said, his voice surprisingly resonant. "Younger than I expected." Goku, never one for formality, stepped forward with a grin and extended his hand. "I'm Son Goku. Nice to meet you." Several guardians gasped at the breach of protocol. But Master Zenith merely laughed, a warm sound that seemed to brighten the chamber, and clasped Goku's hand firmly. "Refreshing. No wonder the gods find you interesting." He turned his attention to Ayame, his expression shifting to something more cautious. "And a celestial apprentice graces our humble temple. Most unexpected." Ayame inclined her head marginally, the barest acknowledgement of his existence. "By Lord Beerus's command, I observe the Saiyan's development. Nothing more." "Of course," Zenith replied with the faintest hint of irony. "We are honored by your observation." Turning back to Goku, his expression grew serious. "Young Saiyan, Lien has undoubtedly explained the gravity of your situation. Lord Beerus does not issue challenges on a whim. His interest in YOU signifies something profound, and potentially dangerous." "Yeah, those enforcer guys already tried to take me out," Goku replied, his casual tone belying the seriousness of the statement. Master Zenith's eyebrows rose. "Equilibrium enforcers, already?" He exchanged concerned glances with the other guardians. "Then matters are accelerating faster than anticipated. We must begin your training immediately." He gestured toward one of the inner doorways. "First, however, you should know exactly what you're facing. The Chamber of Cosmic Records will show you the true nature of the God of Destruction." As they moved deeper into the temple, the architecture became increasingly complex, with corridors that seemed to bend in geometrically impossible ways and chambers whose dimensions appeared larger inside than their exteriors would allow. Eventually, they entered a perfectly spherical room whose walls were covered entirely with shifting celestial maps. "Whoa," Krillin whispered, neck craning, as he tried to take in the constantly moving constellations. "What is this place?" "The Chamber of Cosmic Records," Master Zenith explained, approaching the center of the room. "For thousands of years, our order has documented the activities of divine beings throughout the universe." He made a simple gesture, and the star maps shifted, coalescing into a three-dimensional image of Beerus. The projection was startlingly lifelike, capturing even the god's characteristic yawn. "Lord Beerus, God of Destruction for our universe," Zenith narrated as the image began to move, showing Beerus casually indicating a planet with a single energy sphere. "His role is not mere wanton destruction, but cosmic balance. He eliminates what has grown stagnant or corrupt, making way for new creation." The images shifted, showing Beerus in battle with various powerful beings, each falling before him with minimal effort on his part. "His power is beyond mortal comprehension," Zenith continued. "Entire galaxies have been reduced to dust when he was merely irritated. No mortal has ever landed a meaningful blow on him." Goku watched the displays with intense focus, analyzing Beerus's movements with a martial artist's eye. "He's amazing," he said softly. "Every movement is perfectly efficient, not a single wasted motion." Ayame, who had been maintaining a deliberately bored expression, glanced at Goku with the first hint of genuine curiosity. You can perceive that level of detail in his technique. Interesting. The records also show something else, Master Zenith said, making another gesture. The images shifted again, now showing various planets across the galaxy, each with inhabitants looking upward in fear as cosmic events unfolded above them. Throughout history, whenever divine beings take interest in mortals, it creates ripples in the cosmic order. Other entities inevitably take notice. Some are merely curious. The images showed strange, ethereal observers watching from dimensional rifts. Others are hostile. Now the projections displayed various cosmic enforcers and predatory entities emerging from the darkness between stars. This is why the equilibrium targeted you, young Goku. Your potential represents a variable they cannot predict, a disruption to established patterns. Goku absorbed this information with uncharacteristic solemnity. So by challenging me, Beerus basically painted a target on my back. Precisely, Zenith confirmed, which is why conventional training will not suffice. He dismissed the projections with a wave of his hand. To face a god, even to land a single blow, requires more than merely increasing your power. You need to understand the nature of divine energy itself. Can that really be taught? Krillin asked skeptically. Not easily, Zenith admitted. But there are methods, developed over millennia, that can help bridge the gap between mortal and divine. He turned to Goku with evaluating eyes. More importantly, there are techniques that can temporarily elevate mortal energy to near divine levels, though at considerable risk to the user. Lien stepped forward. Master, the Celestial Fist technique has never been successfully. These are unprecedented circumstances, Lien. Zenith interrupted gently, and this young man is unlike any warrior we've encountered before. He addressed Goku directly. What say you, Son Goku? Are you willing to attempt techniques that no mortal has mastered in 1,000 years? Goku's eyes lit up with determination and excitement. Absolutely. I'll master whatever you throw at me. Master Zenith nodded, seemingly satisfied with the response. Your confidence is admirable. However, even our most advanced techniques have limitations. To truly prepare you for this challenge, you need experience beyond what Earth can provide. What do you mean? Goku asked. I mean, Zenith replied, a hint of mystery in his voice, that your training must continue among the stars. 3 months later, Goku stood on the surface of a planet with triple Earth's gravity, his weighted clothing now 5 times heavier than when he'd started. Purple skies stretched overhead, illuminated by twin suns that never fully set, creating an eternal twilight. Massive crystalline formations erupted from the planet's surface, each containing unique energy signatures that interfered with ki control in different ways. He moved through a complex kata taught by Master Zenith, each position requiring perfect balance and energy control. Sweat poured down his face, but his movements remained precise, his breathing controlled. Nearby, Krillin attempted the same sequence, though with considerably more struggle. Despite this, his improvement over the past months was remarkable, a testament to both his determination and the effectiveness of the temple's training methods. Enough, called Master Zenith, who sat cross-legged atop a floating crystal platform. You've made excellent progress, especially you, Krillin. Your adaptability is impressive. Krillin beamed at the rare compliment. Thanks, Master Zenith. Though I still can't match Goku's insane learning curve. Indeed, Goku's advancement had been nothing short of phenomenal. The temple's techniques, combined with training across 5 different planets with varying gravitational and atmospheric conditions, had accelerated his development exponentially. His base power had more than tripled, and his understanding of energy manipulation had reached new depths. Yet everyone knew it still wasn't enough to challenge Beerus. Ayame, who had been observing from a distance, approached the group. Over the past months, her open disdain had gradually transformed into reluctant acknowledgement of Goku's abilities. She still maintained her aloof demeanor, but occasionally offered cryptic suggestions that invariably led to breakthroughs in Goku's training. Your energy signature is becoming more refined, she noted clinically. Still entirely mortal, but the harmonics are interesting. Goku had learned that from Ayame, this constituted high praise. Thanks. I've been working on that frequency modulation technique you mentioned last week. You actually understood that? She asked, genuine surprise breaking through her composed facade. I was merely thinking aloud. That concept shouldn't be comprehensible to mortals. Goku shrugged, grinning. I didn't understand the theory. But when you described how divine energy vibrates at a different frequency than mortal ki, I could feel what you meant. Ayame studied him with renewed interest. Curious, your intuitive grasp of complex energetic principles defies explanation. He's always been like that, Krillin chimed in. Goku doesn't overthink things, he just does them. Master Zenith stroked his beard thoughtfully. There is wisdom in such simplicity. Divine beings often overcomplicate what is fundamentally straightforward. Ayame looked as though she might object to this characterization, but instead turned away with a dismissive wave. Your next scheduled training location awaits. We should proceed if you wish to maintain your timeline. Goku nodded, then looked to Master Zenith. Where are we headed now? A world quite different from any you've experienced thus far, Zenith replied. While the previous planets focused on physical adaptation and energy control, our next destination emphasizes Z's technological enhancement of biological potential. Krillin perked up. Technology? You mean like gadgets and machines? Far more advanced than that, Zenith said with a mysterious smile. The inhabitants of Nexus Prime have developed methods to interface consciousness with machine, energy with matter, potential with actuality. Sounds complicated, Goku remarked, scratching his head. It is, Zenith agreed. Which is why we've arranged for a local expert to guide your training there. Nexus Prime gleamed like a jewel against the blackness of space, its surface a harmonious blend of Nadu raw landscapes and technological marvels. As their small spacecraft, provided by the temple and piloted by Lien, entered the planet's atmosphere, Goku pressed his face against the viewport, taking in sprawling cities that seemed to grow organically from the environment rather than imposing upon it. Amazing, he exclaimed. The whole planet looks alive. Lien nodded as she guided the ship toward a designated landing area. Nexus Prime represents the pinnacle of harmonious technological development. Unlike many advanced civilizations, they've integrated their technology with natural systems rather than replacing them. The ship touched down on a platform that immediately recognized their vessel, adjusting its molecular structure to create a perfect docking seal. As the exit ramp deployed, they were greeted by a welcoming committee of 3 figures. 2 were clearly security personnel, their bodies enhanced with subtle technological implants that glowed beneath their skin. The central figure, however, immediately captured everyone's attention. She was humanoid, standing just over 5 feet tall, with skin that shifted colors subtly like the surface of a soap bubble. Her hair, if it could be called that, consisted of thousands of fine filaments that moved independently, each tipped with a tiny light source that changed color with her apparent mood. Currently, they glowed with a curious blue-green. Her eyes were large and entirely silver, with no visible pupils, yet somehow expressively warm. She wore what appeared to be a simple jumpsuit, though closer inspection revealed it to be composed of millions of nanites that continuously reconfigured themselves for optimal functionality. Welcome to Nexus Prime, she greeted them, her voice melodious and enthusiastic. I'm Misa, EAD of Adaptive Bioenergetic Systems and your designated liaison. The lights in her hair pulsed brighter with her excitement. Goku, never shy, stepped forward with an extended hand. I'm Goku. Thanks for having us. Misa stared at his hand momentarily before her eyes widened in recognition. Oh, physical contact greeting protocols. How delightfully traditional. Instead of shaking his hand, she pressed her palm against his, causing a brief, pleasant tingling sensation. There. Now my systems have a complete bioenergetic profile of you. Fascinating readings, by the way. Your cellular structure has adaptation markers I've never encountered before. Her attention shifted to the others, greeting each in turn, her hair filaments changing colors slightly with each new introduction, yellow-green for Krillin, deep purple for Master Zenith, and a curious oscillating pattern when she met Ayame. A celestial biological pattern, she exclaimed, staring at Ayame with undisguised fascination. I've only theorized about such energy signatures. Ayame stepped back, clearly uncomfortable with Misa's enthusiastic scrutiny. Your observational technology is surprisingly intrusive for a mortal civilization. Oh, sorry, Misa apologized, her hair filaments briefly turning pink with embarrassment. I get carried away with new biological patterns. I'll adjust my perception filters. She made a subtle gesture. And the filaments returned to their default blue-green. Better. Before Ayame could respond, Master Zenith stepped forward. Misa, thank you for agreeing to assist with Goku's training. Temple of Celestial Knowledge greatly appreciates Nexus Prime's cooperation. Are you kidding? This is the most exciting project I've been assigned in decades. Her silver eyes gleamed with enthusiasm as she focused on Goku again. A mortal preparing to face a god of destruction. The bioenergetic implications alone are worth studying, but the potential applications of cross-realm energy transference. Revolutionary. She gestured for them to follow, practically bouncing with excitement as she led them toward a transport platform. I've prepared a complete training regimen based on the specifications your temple provided. We'll start with baseline enhancement protocols, then move to adaptive resistance training, followed by quantum fluctuation response patterns. Oh, and I've developed some prototype equipment specifically designed to help bridge the gap between mortal and divine energy states. As they stepped onto the platform, it activated without visible controls, lifting them smooth into the air and accelerating toward the center of the city. Goku watched in amazement as they passed through buildings that seemed to reorganize their molecular structure to allow passage, then reform perfectly behind them. This is incredible, he said, genuine wonder in his voice. I've never seen anything like it. Most off-worlders say that, Misa replied with pride. Nexus Prime Repression. TS over 10,000 years of technological evolution, all focused on one central principle. Technology should enhance natural potential, not replace it. She turned to Goku with intense interest. That's why your case is so fascinating to me. You've achieved extraordinary power through purely biological means, without technological enhancement. Theoretically, integrating our methods with your neural abilities could yield unprecedented results. Krillin looked nervous. When you say, integrate, you don't mean permanently installing stuff in our bodies, right? Misa's hair filaments rippled with amusement. Nothing invasive. All our enhancement systems are completely non-permanent. Think of them as training tools that communicate directly with your cellular structure. The transport platform descended onto a massive circular complex that appeared to be equal parts laboratory, training facility, and meditation center. As they disembarked, various devices throughout the facility activated, responding to their presence. Welcome to the Adaptive Enhancement Center, Misa announced proudly. For the next 3 weeks, this will be your training ground, son Goku. Goku stood in the center of a spherical chamber, suspended in a field of energy that constantly shifted in density, temperature, and resistance. Around him orbited 12 small devices, each emitting a different frequency that interfered with his key control in unique ways. His task: maintain perfect energy stability while executing increasingly complex martial arts forms. Remarkable, Misa observed from the control center, where displays showed detailed readings of Goku's biological responses. He's adapting to the interference patterns faster than the system can generate new ones. 2 weeks into his training on Nexus Prime, Goku had mastered techniques that Misa claimed would take most beings years to comprehend. His natural adaptability, combined with the temple's foundational training, allowed him to integrate technological enhancements with his key manipulation in ways that surprised even Misa. His cellular structure actually remembers response patterns, she explained to the others as they observed. Once he overcomes a particular challenge, his body instantaneously develops countermeasures should he encounter it again. Krillin, who had been undergoing a modified version of the same training, shook his head in amazement. He's always been a fast learner, but this is something else. Master Zenith nodded thoughtfully. There's something unique about his energy signature, beyond typical Saiyan adaptability. It's as though his ki naturally seeks to transcend normal limitations. Ayame, who had maintained a practiced disinterest throughout their stay on Nexus Prime, studied the readings with unexpected attention. There's a harmonic resonance in his base energy pattern, she observed. Almost like, she stopped herself, but not before Misa caught the implication. Like a divine frequency, the scientist asked excitedly. I've noticed similar patterns. His energy occasionally fluctuates into ranges normally associated with higher dimensional beings. That would be impossible for a mortal, Ayame stated firmly, though with less conviction than usual. Inside the chamber, Goku completed his exercise with a final, perfect form, his energy remaining completely stable despite the interfering frequencies. The orbiting devices powered down, and the suspension field gently lowered him to the chamber floor. That was intense, he exclaimed as he exited, wiping sweat from his brow. Those last 3 interference patterns were really tricky. Misa's hair filaments glowed bright yellow with excitement. They were designed to be impossible to counter simultaneously. The System H. Add to generate entirely new equations to explain how you maintain stability. Goku laughed, rubbing the back of his head. I just felt how they were trying to pull my energy in different directions, so I created a kind of spinning core, like a ball within a ball within a ball, each rotating in opposite directions. The explanation, delivered so casually, caused both Misa and Ayame to stare at him with new appreciation. A nested rotational energy core with counter-harmonic spin. Misa whispered. That's a theoretical concept we've only recently begun to explore. Even Ayame seemed impressed despite herself. Such techniques are taught to celestial apprentices in their 3rd century, she admitted reluctantly. Goku shrugged. It just felt right. Can we try something even harder tomorrow? Misa's expression suddenly shifted, her hair filaments turning a thoughtful purple. Actually, there is something I've been developing, though it's highly experimental. She hesitated, then continued with growing excitement. A system designed to temporarily elevate mortal energy to near-divine frequencies. Master Zenith's eyebrows rose. Similar to our celestial fist technique. Possibly. Though approached from a technological rather than metaphysical perspective, Misa explained. The theory is that divine energy isn't fundamentally different from mortal energy, it simply operates at frequencies mortal bodies typically can't sustain. She turned to Goku, her silver eyes intense. My system creates a field that gradually elevates energy frequencies while simultaneously strengthening cellular structures to withstand the increased vibration. Theoretically, it could allow a mortal to temporarily access god-like energy states. Has anyone ever tried it? Krillin asked nervously. Isa's hair filaments briefly flickered to an embarrassed pink. Well, no. The physiological stress would be too great for most subjects. But Goku's adaptability might make him the perfect candidate. Goku's eyes lit up with excitement. Let's do it. Hold on, Master Zenith cautioned. What are the risks? Cellular degradation, neurological overload, complete energy system collapse, Misa list. Ed matter-of-factly before brightening again. But the potential benefits are extraordinary. Even a brief experience with divine frequency energy could fundamentally transform Goku's understanding of how to approach Lord Beerus's challenge. Quote, Ayame, surprisingly, stepped forward. Such experimentation with divine energies borders on cosmic sacrilege. Says who? Goku challenged good-naturedly. If I'm supposed to land a blow on Beerus, I need to understand how his energy works. This sounds perfect. Master Zenith stroked his beard thoughtfully. There is precedent for mortals temporarily accessing divine energy states, though usually through mystical rather than technological means. He studied Goku carefully. The decision must be yours, young Saiyan. Goku nodded without hesitation. I want to try. How soon can we start, Misa? Quote, the scientist's hair filaments practically sparkled with excitement. I can have the system calibrated by tomorrow morning. This is going to be revolutionary. As the others discussed technical details, Ayame approached Goku privately. You realize you're attempting something that defies the natural order, she said, her tone unusually devoid of condescension. Goku met her gaze directly. Maybe, but if there's one thing I've learned in my life, it's that limits are meant to be pushed. He smiled, that same disarmingly genuine expression that had begun to affect even Ayame's celestial composure. Besides, isn't that what Lord Beerus wants to see? How far a mortal can go? Ayame studied him silently for a moment before responding. Perhaps, or perhaps, he merely seeks entertainment before destroying your world. Despite her words, there was a new note in her voice, something almost like concern. Divine energy is not to be trifled with, Son Goku. I know it's dangerous, he acknowledged, but I can't back down from a challenge, especially not when everyone's counting on me. Something shifted in Ayame's expression, the barest softening of her perpetual aloofness. Your determination is admirable, if foolhardy. She hesitated, then added quietly, I will observe tomorrow's procedure closely. Should complications arise that these mortals cannot address, I may intervene. Goku's eyes widened slightly. You'd help me? I thought that would violate your cosmic protocols or whatever. Don't misunderstand, she replied sharply, mask of indifference firmly back in place. Lord Beerus commanded me to observe your progress. I cannot fulfill that duty if you self-destruct due to mortal technological incompetence. With that, she turned and glided away, though not before Goku caught what might have been the ghost of a smile on her perfect features. The experimental chamber resembled a spherical web of light, with countless energy filaments converging toward the center where a suspended platform awaited. Misa had spent the entire night making adjustments, her hair filaments now a focused white-blue as she conducted final calibrations. The system will increase the frequency of your energy in carefully measured increments, she explained as technicians attached monitoring devices to Goku's body. At each stage, we'll evaluate your cellular response before proceeding. If at any point the stress becomes too great, we'll immediately terminate the process. Goku nodded, his expression showing unusual seriousness. I'm ready. Master Zenith, Krillin, and Lien watched from behind protective barriers, their concern evident despite their supportive expressions. Ayame had positioned herself closer to the chamber, ostensibly to observe more accurately. Though her attention seemed unusually focused on Goku's well-being. Beginning primary sequence, Misa announced, initiating the system with a series of precise gestures. The energy filaments surrounding Goku began to glow more intensely, their light pulsing in complex patterns as they activated. He felt a slight tingling across his skin, gradually increasing in intensity until his entire body seemed to vibrate. First frequency shift initiated, Misa narrated, eyes fixed on the monitoring displays. Energy resonance at 115% of baseline. Cellular stability holding. Goku closed his eyes, focusing on the sensation. It felt similar to powering up, yet fundamentally different, as though his energy was becoming lighter, less dense but somehow more potent. Second frequency shift initiated. Energy resonance at 140%. Bioelectric field expanding beyond standard parameters. The tingling transformed into a pleasant warmth that spread from Goku's core to his extremities. He could feel his ki responding to the frequency changes, becoming more fluid, more responsive to his mental direction. This feels amazing, he murmured, opening his eyes, which now glowed faintly with inner light. Approaching critical threshold, Misa reported, her voice tense with concentration. Energy resonance at 180%. Preparing for divine adjacent frequency shift. Master Zenith leaned forward, his expression grave. Be cautious, Misa, that threshold is where most mystical attempts fail as well. His cellular structure is holding remarkably well. She responded, hair filaments now pulsing with scientific excitement. Initiating divine adjacent shift in 3, 2, 1. The energy filaments suddenly intensified, shifting from blue-white to a deep violet. Goku gasped as the sensation transformed dramatically, no longer merely warmth but a rushing torrent of power unlike anything he'd experienced before. Quote, energy resonance at 220%. Misa exclaimed, he's entering divine adjacent frequencies. Goku's aura manifested visibly, not the usual blue-white of his ki but a deep, vibrant violet with gold undertones. His hair lifted slightly, moving as though underwater, and the air around him began to shimmer with distortions in the fabric of reality itself. Incredible, whispered Lien. His energy signature is changing at the fundamental level. Krillin stared in awe. Is this what God power feels like? Merely the echo of it, Master Zenith corrected. True divine energy would be orders of magnitude beyond this. Ayame, however, had tensed visibly. Something's wrong, she stated sharply. The resonance patterns are becoming unstable. As if confirming her assessment, the monitoring equipment began emitting warning signals. Goku's expression shifted from wonder to discomfort, his body starting to tremble as though under enormous strain. Frequency destabilizing, Misa reported, fingers flying across control surfaces. His cellular structure is beginning to degrade under the vibration. Shut it down, Master Zenith commanded. I'm trying, Misa responded urgently. The system isn't responding. The energy loop has become self-sustaining. Within the chamber, Goku gritted his teeth against mounting pain. The pleasant warmth had transformed into burning agony as his RTAL body struggled to contain energy frequencies it was never designed to channel. The violet aura surrounding him began to pulse erratically, sending shockwaves throughout the chamber that cracked monitoring equipment. His energy is cascading, Misa shouted. If it continues, the cellular damage will be irreversible. Without hesitation, Ayame moved toward the chamber, ignoring the technicians' warnings about the danger. Foolish mortals and their experiments with forces beyond their comprehension, she muttered, though genuine concern underlay her irritation. Reaching the chamber's edge, he traced complex patterns in the air with fluid precision. Temporal suspension. Localized convergence. The space around Goku shimmered as Ayame's celestial technique took effect, creating a bubble of altered time that slowed the cascade reaction. With the immediate danger temporarily contained, she entered the chamber, approaching Goku directly. Listen carefully, Saiyan, she instructed, her voice cutting through his pain. Your mortal form cannot channel this frequency naturally, but you can redirect it. Focus your consciousness on your core energy, not as you normally perceive it, but as a frequency, a vibration. Goku struggled to comprehend through the haze of pain, but something in Ayame's voice, a quality he'd never heard from her before, reached him. He closed his eyes, shifting his awareness as instructed. Now, Ayame continued, her own hands beginning to glow with celestial energy. Imagine separating that vibration into layers, like peeling an onion. The outer layer is burning you, let it go. Following her guidance, Goku visualized his energy as she described. With tremendous effort, he mentally separated the harmful outer frequency, allowing it to dissipate harmlessly. Good, Ayame approved, genuine praise in her voice for the first time. Now stabilize the remaining frequencies in descending order. Find the highest vibration you can comfortably maintain. The violent pulsing of Goku's aura gradually steadied, shifting from violet to a deep blue with subtle gold highlights. The pain receded, replaced by a controlled power that felt both foreign and strangely familiar. Remarkable, Misa whispered, watching the readings stabilize. He's holding at 170% of baseline, just below the divine threshold, but far beyond normal mortal capacity. With deliberate movements, Ayame guided Goku through the process of fully stabilizing this new energy state. What you're experiencing now, she explained, is the highest frequency a mortal body can typically sustain, what celestials call the penumbra state. It's the boundary between mortal and divine energy. Goku opened his eyes, which now glowed with a subtle inner light. It feels different, like my power is lighter somehow, but deeper at the same time. An apt description, Ayame acknowledged. Divine energy is not merely stronger than mortal ki, it operates on fundamentally different principles. What you feel now is merely a glimpse of those differences. Master Zenith approached cautiously as the emergency subsided. Can he maintain this state? Temporarily, Ayame replied. Perhaps a few minutes at most before his mortal form begins to destabilize again. But the experience itself is valuable, it gives him insight into divine energy characteristics. Goku flexed his hands, studying the blue-gold aura that surrounded them. I can feel everything. Like the boundaries between me and everything else are thinner. He looked up suddenly. I can sense Lord Beerus. Everyone stared in shock. That's impossible, Misa said. He's light years away, not physically, Goku clarified. But I can feel his signature. Like an echo in the universe. His expression grew focused. And something else. Something watching us. Before anyone could question this concerning statement, the penumbra state began to fade naturally, Goku's aura returning to normal as his body reached its limits. He staggered slightly as the enhanced awareness receded, supported by Ayame until he regained his balance. That was intense, he managed with a weak smile. But incredible, you glimpsed what gods perceive constantly. Ayame explained, her usual disdain notably absent. Their awareness transcends physical limitations, they perceive energy connections throughout the universe simultaneously. Master Zenith stroked his beard thoughtfully. This experience may be more valuable than we anticipated. Not for the power itself, but for the understanding it provides. Misa approached, her hair filaments cycling through colors that reflected mixed emotions, scientific excitement, concern, and profound curiosity. The data we gathered is revolutionary. With refinement, This technique could. She was interrupted by a sudden alarm from the facility's security systems. Displays throughout the chamber activated automatically, showing external feeds of the sky above Nexus Prime. A massive ship had appeared in orbit, sleek, predatory, and unmistakably designed for combat. Even as they watched, smaller vessels began to deploy from the main craft, descending toward the surface with military precision. "We're being invaded?" Krillin asked incredulously. Lien moved closer to the displays, her expression darkening. "Not random invaders. Look at the design of those ships, symmetrical geometry. Obsidian hulls with violet energy signatures. The equilibrium," Master Zenith confirmed grimly. "They've tracked us here." Misa's hair filaments turned a shocked white. "Equilibrium forces. Here, but Nexus Prime has no quarrel with cosmic regulatory entities. They're not here for your planet," Ayame stated coldly. "They're here for him." She nodded toward Goku, especially after that energy spike, which would have been detectable across half the galaxy. As if confirming her words, the largest of the descending vessels altered course, heading directly toward the research facility. "We need to evacuate," Lien urged. "If they've brought arbiters or negators." "No," Goku interrupted, his expression resolute despite his exhaustion. "I'm tired of running from these guys. If they want me, they'll have to face me directly." Krillin looked at his friend with concerned admiration. "You're still recovering from whatever just happened to you. This isn't the time for a confrontation. Actually," Master Zenith said thoughtfully, "this may be precisely the opportunity we need." Everyone turned to him in surprise. He continued, "The equilibrium's forces are powerful, but not on the level of a god of destruction. Facing them will provide valuable combat experience against non-mortal entities. Are you suggesting we fight an army of cosmic enforcers as a training exercise?" Lien asked incredulously. "Not exactly," Zenith clarified, "but if confrontation is inevitable, we should extract maximum benefit from it." Misa, who had been monitoring the approaching vessels, suddenly straightened. "They're sending a communication request. Should I accept?" After a moment's hesitation, Master Zenith nodded. "Let's hear what they have to say." A holographic projection appeared in the center of the chamber, a figure similar to the enforcers they'd encountered on Earth, but more elaborate in design. Its obsidian armor bore complex runic inscriptions, and its mask resembled a stylized owl rather than a simple skull. "Attention mortals," it began, its voice resonating with unnatural harmonics. "I am Arbiter Vex of the Cosmic Equilibrium. You harbor an anomaly designated Critical Disruption Alpha. Surrender the Saiyan designated Son Goku for processing, or face regulatory intervention." Goku stepped forward before anyone could respond. "If you want me, come and get me yourself. I'm done hiding." The Arbiter's glowing eyes seemed to focus on Goku with increased intensity. "The anomaly exhibits defiance. Probability matrix indicates reasoning will fail." It paused briefly. "Deployment authorized. Containment protocols initiated." The projection vanished, and moments later, the facility's external sensors showed multiple landing craft touching down in the surrounding area. "They're surrounding us," Lien reported tersely. "Standard containment formation. They'll establish a perimeter, then contract inward." Misa's hair filaments had turned a determined red. Nexus Prime does not abandon guests to aggressors. She activated a communication panel. "Security Protocol Omega. All defensive systems online. Priority. Protect the facility and our visitors." Master Zenith turned to Goku. "Are you certain about this? You've just experienced a significant energy event. Your reserves may be compromised." Goku rolled his shoulders, then dropped into a fighting stance, his expression showing nothing but focused determination. "I've never felt more ready. Besides," he added with a characteristic grin, "I learned something interesting during that penumbra state. I think I understand divine energy a little better now." "Understanding and implementation are very different matters," Ayame cautioned, though without her usual condescension. "Only one way to find out," Goku replied, heading toward the facility's main entrance. "Let's meet our visitors." The forces arrayed against them were formidable. Dozens of standard enforcers, 6 specialized units Lien identified as suppressors, and the Arbiter himself. Floating above the battlefield with casual menace. They had established a perfect semicircular formation around the facility's main entrance, energy barriers already activating to prevent escape. Goku stood at the front of their small group, flanked by Krillin and Lien. Master Zenith remained slightly behind them, his aged appearance belying the powerful energy now radiating from him. Misa had deployed what she called adaptive defense mechanisms, swarms of nanites that hovered around her like liquid metal insects, ready to form weapons or shields as needed. Ayame stood apart, her posture suggesting she considered herself an observer rather than a participant, though her eyes never left Goku. Final warning, anomaly, Arbiter Vex announced, his voice echoing unnaturally across the open space. Submit for processing or face elimination. I don't really understand what processing means, Goku called back, but it doesn't sound like something I'd enjoy. How about we skip to the part where I show you why trying to eliminate me is a bad idea? Without waiting for a response, he launched forward with explosive speed, covering the distance to the front line of enforcers in the blink of an eye. His first strikes demonstrated how much he had progressed, each blow precisely targeted to disrupt the core matrices Lien had previously identified as their weak points. 2 enforcers collapsed immediately, their obsidian armor cracking to reveal the violet energy cores within. The others responded with coordinated attacks, energy scythes materializing in perfect synchronization. Krillin and Lien joined the fray seconds later, implementing the teamwork strategies they had practiced during their training journey. Krillin focused on disruptive energy techniques, firing precisely calibrated ki blasts that interfered with the enforcers' coordination, while Lien employed her ancient weapon techniques, her sword leaving trails of golden light that temporarily nullified the enemy's energy fields. Master Zenith remained stationary, his hands weaving complex patterns that created localized distortions in the battlefield, slowing some enemies, accelerating allies, and occasionally redirecting energy attacks back toward their sources. Misa proved surprisingly effective in combat. Her nanite swarms formed constantly shifting weapons and shields, analyzing each opponent and adapting to their specific vulnerabilities. Their energy signature has a fluctuation at 7.3 MHz. She called out excitedly. Targeting that frequency disrupts their coordination subroutines. The battle escalated rapidly as the suppressors entered the fray. Unlike the standard enforcers, these specialized units employed techniques specifically designed to nullify ki manipulation. Waves of anti-energy radiated from their gauntlets, causing Goku and Krillin's ki attacks to dissipate before reaching their targets. Physical attacks only against the suppressors. Lien shouted, recognizing the technique. Their defenses work against energy, not matter. Goku adapted instantly, closing to close quarters combat with the nearest suppressor. Even without energy enhancement, his physical strength and speed were formidable. A rapid sequence of strikes, elbow, knee, open palm, spinning kick, landed with devastating precision, each targeting structural weaknesses in the construct's design. The suppressor staggered but didn't fall, its armor reconfiguring to compensate for the damage. It countered with unexpected speed, its movements becoming fluid and almost organic compared to the mechanical precision of standard enforcers. They're adaptive, Misa warned, her nanites forming a shield just in time to block a blast from another suppressor. Each attack pattern use becomes less effective as they analyze it. Goku grinned despite the increasing challenge. Then I'll just have to get creative. He began implementing techniques from across his training journey. Turtle School fundamentals blended with the temple's ancient forms, combined with movement patterns developed during his planetary training. The unpredictable mixture temporarily confused the suppressor's adaptive algorithms, creating openings for decisive strikes. Across the battlefield, his companions were similarly engaged. Krillin had developed a technique that used small ki projectiles as distractions while closing for physical attacks, a strategy that proved effective against the enforcers' more linear threat assessment. Lien moved like a dancer through the chaos, her sword leaving arcs of golden light that temporarily disrupted the enemy's energy systems. Misa's technological abilities proved invaluable, her nanites constantly reconfiguring to counter each new threat. For several minutes, the battle appeared evenly matched, impressive considering the numerical disadvantage they faced. Then Arbiter Vex, who had been observing from above, finally entered the conflict directly. Sufficient analysis completed, he announced tonelessly, implementing termination protocols. The Arbiter descended to the battlefield, landing with enough force to create a shockwave that staggered everyone within 30 feet. Unlike the other equilibrium forces, His movements possessed a fluidity that seemed almost natural, his obsidian armor shifting like liquid shadow as he walked calmly toward Goku. The anomaly demonstrates unexpected adaptability, Vex stated, his owl mask somehow conveying clinical interest despite its fixed expression. Further study will benefit the equilibrium. Goku, disengaged from his current opponent to face this new threat. I'm getting really tired of being called an anomaly, he said, settling into a defensive stance. My name is Son Goku. Designations are irrelevant, Vex replied. Function is paramount. Without further warning, he attacked, and Goku immediately understood the vast difference between enforcers and arbiters. Vex moved like living mercury, his strikes flowing into one another with impossible fluidity. Each blow carried force that sent shockwaves through the air, and his defensive movements anticipated attacks before they were launched. Goku found himself completely on the defensive, using every technique he had learned to merely avoid serious injury. Even his incredible reflexes were barely sufficient against the arbiter's calculated assault. Your potential exceeds parameters, Vex commented during a momentary lull, his tone unchanging despite the intensity of the combat. Adjustment required. The runes on his armor began to glow with violet light, and the air around him distorted visibly. Suddenly, Goku felt his movements becoming sluggish, as though gravity had increased tenfold around him specifically. Localized reality adjustment, Vex explained dispassionately, a minor calibration to compensate for anomalous capability. Despite the crushing pressure, Goku refused to yield, drawing on reserves of determinati. On that had always been his greatest strength, he forced his body to move, each action requiring tremendous effort but executed nonetheless. Fascinating, the arbiter observed. Willpower exceeds typical mortal thresholds. That's because Goku managed through gritted teeth, still pushing against the overwhelming force. I'm not. He took one struggling step forward, typical. With that declaration, something shifted in his energy. Perhaps it was residual effects from the penumbra state, or perhaps simply his indomitable spirit finding new expression, but for a brief moment, his aura flickered with the same blue-gold hue he had manifested during Misa's experiment. The localized gravity effect wavered, and Goku seized the opportunity. Drawing on everything he had learned about divine energy frequencies, he focused his ki in a new way, not simply gathering power, but aligning his energy to a higher harmonic. Ha! His shout was both defiance and focus as he launched forward, breaking free of the gravity effect entirely. His right fist, now trailing blue-gold energy, connected solidly with the arbiter's mask. The impact created a sound like reality itself cracking, a discordant note in the universe's symphony. Vex staggered backward, genuine surprise evident in his body language as fractures spread across his previously impervious mask. Impossible, the arbiter stated, his voice distorting for the first time. Mortal energy cannot affect regulatory constructs at this level. Goku didn't waste breath responding. Instead, he pressed his advantage, moving with renewed vigor as he implemented a fighting style that seemed to emerge spontaneously from his experience with the penumbra state. Each movement flowed with unusual grace, his strikes carrying energy that vibrated at frequencies just slightly higher than normal ki. The effect on Vex was dramatic. Where previously he had seemed nearly invulnerable, now each of Goku's blows left visible damage, fractures spreading through his obsidian armor like cracks in glass. Seeing their leader in genuine trouble, the remaining equilibrium forces converged on Goku, abandoning their other opponents to focus on the primary threat. Krillin, Lien, and Misa immediately moved to intercept, forming a protective perimeter around their friend. Whatever you're doing, Goku, keep doing it. Krillin shouted as he deflected a suppressor's attack. It's actually working. Even Ayame had finally abandoned her observer status, joining the battle with reluctant grace. Her celestial techniques weren't directly offensive, apparently still honoring certain cosmic protocols, but she created localized distortions that confused and disoriented the enforcers, making them vulnerable to the others' attacks. Master Zenith, meanwhile, had begun a complex ritual, ancient symbols appearing in the air around him as he chanted in a language that seemed to resonate with the fabric of reality itself. The temporal anchor is nearly complete, he called to Goku. Finish this quickly. Understanding the urgency, Goku focused his full attention on Arbiter Vex, who had recovered somewhat from the initial shock of being damaged. The Arbiter's mask had partially repaired itself, though the cracks remained visible, leaking violet energy like luminescent blood. Protocol violation detected, Vex announced, his voice now fluctuating between tones. Anomaly employs restricted frequency modulation. Escalation authorized. The remaining runes on his armor blazed with blinding intensity as he gathered power for what was clearly a decisive attack. The air around him warped violently, reality itself seeming to protest the concentration of regulatory energy. "Everyone get back," Lien shouted in alarm, recognizing the technique. "He's initiating a nullification cascade." Goku stood his ground as the others retreated, instinctively understanding that this confrontation had become more than just a battle. It was a test of his progress, measuring stick for his eventual challenge against Beerus. As Vex launched his attack, a wave of violet energy that seemed to erase everything it touched from existence, Goku made a split-second decision. Rather than attempting to match power with power, he recalled Ayame's lessons about energy frequencies and divine harmonics. Just as the nullification wave reached him, Goku shifted his energy to precisely match its frequency. But in perfect opposition, like creating an anti-wave to neutralize an ocean surge. The two forces collided in a display of light and sound that defied conventional physics. For a breathless moment, the outcome hung in perfect balance. Then, with a final push of willpower, Goku's countermeasure prevailed. The nullification wave collapsed in on itself, creating a vacuum that pulled Vex forward unexpectedly, directly into Goku's waiting strike. This final blow, delivered with perfect technical precision and enhanced by his intuitive grasp of frequency modulation, shattered the Arbiter's mask completely. Violet energy erupted from the broken construct, spiraling upward in chaotic patterns before dissipating into the atmosphere. With their leader defeated, the remaining equilibrium forces faltered, their coordinated assault breaking down into individual actions easily countered by Goku's companions. Within minutes, the battlefield fell silent, littered with intact constructs and fractured obsidian armor. Goku stood among the aftermath, breathing heavily but standing tall. The blue-gold aura had faded, leaving him visibly exhausted but triumphant. As his friends gathered around him with congratulations and concerned questions, he glanced up to meet Ayame's gaze. For the first time, the celestial apprentice regarded him with something approaching respect. "You modulated your energy frequency to counter the Arbiter's attack," she stated, not quite a question. "A technique that should be beyond mortal comprehension." Goku smiled tiredly. "I just read what you taught me during the Penumbra state, about harmonics and counter frequencies. It seemed like the right approach." "It was," she acknowledged, genuine approval in her voice. "Many celestial apprentices require decades to master such concepts." Master Zenith approached, his ritual completed. "The temporal anchor is established. It will prevent further equilibrium forces from tracking us. For approximately 72 hours, enough time to depart Nexus Prime and continue our journey." Misa, whose nanites were busy collecting data from the defeated constructs, looked up with bright excitement despite the battle's intensity. "This encounter has provided invaluable data. The frequency modulation Goku employed could revolutionize our defensive systems." Lien, ever practical, was already assessing their condition. "We should leave as soon as possible. The equilibrium will send stronger forces once they realize an Arbiter has been defeated." Krillin clapped Goku on the shoulder. "That was incredible. You actually beat that thing using some kind of God energy technique." "Not quite God energy," Goku corrected thoughtfully. "More like finding the right frequency. Like tuning an instrument." Ayame raised an eyebrow at the surprisingly apt metaphor. An oversimplification, but essentially correct. Divine energy operates at higher frequencies than mortal ki, you manage to temper. Airily elevate your energy to an intermediate state. "Could I do it again?" Goku asked eagerly. "Perhaps," she replied cautiously. "Though the physical toll would be substantial without proper training." She hesitated, then added with obvious reluctance, "I could provide guidance in that area. Purely for observational purposes, of course." The offer, coming from someone who had previously refused to teach a mortal anything, caused everyone to stare in surprise. Ayame immediately assumed her haughty expression again. "Lord Beerus expects progress. If primitive technological methods and ancient temple techniques prove insufficient, celestial instruction may be necessary by default." Goku grinned, seeing through her attempt to maintain distance. Thanks, Ayame. I'd like that. Master Zenith cleared his throat. Before we depart, there is one final destination on our itinerary, perhaps the most important of all. The Temple of Prophecy on Chronos 7. Another temple? Krillin asked wearily. Not just any temple, Zenith explained. The oldest known structure in the universe, predating even the current generation of Supreme Kais. If answers exist anywhere regarding Goku's unusual connection to divine energy, they will be found there. Misa's hair filaments flickered with scientific curiosity. Chronos 7. That's in a restricted sector, cosmic coordinates sealed by divine decree. Yes, Zenith acknowledged, which is why we will require particularly careful navigation. He turned to Goku, his expression serious. What you experienced today, both in the Penumbra State and Duran G battle, suggests possibilities beyond our initial expectations. The Temple of Prophecy may help us understand why. Goku nodded, his usual carefree demeanor tempered by the day's events. Then that's where we'll go next. As they prepared to depart Nexus Prime, gathering supplies and thanking Misa for her assistance, Goku found himself looking upward toward the stars. Somewhere out there, Lord Beerus was waiting, perhaps watching, perhaps merely sleeping until their appointed confrontation. I'm getting stronger, he murmured to himself, determination burning like a quiet flame. One blow. That's all I need to land. What he didn't say, what he barely admitted to himself, was the strange sense of anticipation building within him. Beyond the challenge, beyond the threat to Earth, there was nothing else driving him forward now. A genuine curiosity about his own potential, about the boundaries between mortal and divine, and about why a god of destruction would take interest in a young Saiyan from Earth. The answers, he hoped, awaited on Chronos 7. The journey to Chronos 7 took them through regions of space rarely traversed by mortal vessels. Strange phenomena abounded, rivers of cosmic energy flowing between stars, gravitational anomalies that bent light into impossible patterns, and occasionally, glimpses of beings that seemed to exist partially in other dimensions. Their small ship, enhanced by Misa's technology before they left Nexus Prime, navigated these hazards with Leon's expert piloting and Master Zenith's guidance. Ayame, surprisingly, had remained with them physic ally rather than transporting herself independently, a decision she explained as more efficient observation. More telling was that she had begun providing Goku with limited instruction in energy freak UNC modulation, ostensibly to prevent another, potentially catastrophic misapplication, like his battle with the Arbiter, but with a growing investment in his progress that belied her official detachment. Visualization is insufficient, she corrected as Goku attempted to recreate the blue-gold aura from his battle. Divine energy is not merely imagined differently, it resonates differently at the quantum level. Feel the vibration within each particle of your being, then elevate that vibration progressively. They sat cross-legged in the ship's small meditation chamber, facing each other as AIM guided him through increasingly complex exercises. Despite her continuing formal manner, genuine teaching intent had replaced her former disdain. I'm trying, Goku responded, brow furrowed in concentration. But it's like trying to tune thousands of strings simultaneously. An apt analogy, she conceded. Perhaps approach it differently. Rather than adjusting each string individually, focus on the fundamental resonance that underlies them all. Goku closed his eyes, following her guidance. For a brief moment, a flicker of blue-gold energy manifested around him before dissipating. I almost had it. Better, Ayame acknowledged. Your intuitive grasp of these concepts remains remarkable for a mortal. She hesitated, then asked with what seemed like genuine curiosity, how did you perceive divine energy when you encountered Lord Beerus? Goku thought carefully before answering. It felt deep, like an ocean compared to a lake. Not just stronger, but fundamentally different. Like it was connected to everything somehow. Ayame's perfect features showed subtle surprise. That is, a surprisingly accurate description. Divine energy exists in constant connection with the cosmic fabric itself, drawing from and contributing to the universal flow. Their conversation was interrupted by Master Zenith's voice over the ship's communication system. We're approaching the outer boundary of the Chronos system. Everyone to the bridge, please. As they gathered on the small bridge, a stunning sight greeted them through the main viewport. Kronos 7 orbited a binary star system, one sun golden yellow, the other a deep, vibrant blue. The planet itself appeared to be composed entirely of crystalline structures that reflected and refracted the dual starlight, creating an ever-shifting aurora across its surface. Incredible, Krillin whispered. It looks like a giant gemstone. In a sense, it is, Master Zenith explained. The entire planet is a single crystalline entity, sentient, though not in ways we can easily comprehend. The Temple of Prophecy isn't built on the planet, it's grown from it. As they approached, another phenomenon became visible, a ring of smaller crystal aligned bodies orbiting the planet in perfect geometric patterns, creating what appeared to be a massive, three-dimensional mandala. The Kronos keys, Lien explained reverently. Ancient artifacts saw it to unlock different temporal possibilities. Legend holds that looking through them reveals alternate timelines. Their ship decelerated as it entered the outer atmosphere, guided by energy patterns that seemed to emerge from the planet itself, welcoming them, or perhaps merely directing them to an appropriate landing location. There appears to be no technological civilization, Misa observed, her scientific curiosity evident as her hair filaments cycled through analytical patterns. Yet the crystalline structures show clear signs of intelligent design and purpose. The temple predates conventional civilization, Master Zenith said. It's said to have emerged during the universe's first age, when the boundaries between mortal and divine were less defined. They touched down on a flat Eastaline platform that adjusted its structure to accommodate their vessel perfectly. As the exit ramp deployed, they were greeted by an extraordinary sight. A figure stood waiting, humanoid in general shape, but composed entirely of translucent crystal that contained swirling galaxies and nebulae within its form. It had no discernible face, yet somehow conveyed awareness and intention. When it moved, its crystalline body flowed rather than articulated, maintaining perfect continuity. "Welcome, seekers," it greeted them, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through conventional sound. "I am Celia, keeper of the Kronos Temple." Master Zenith bowed deeply. "Honored keeper, we come seeking insight regarding a cosmic convergence." The crystalline being seemed to focus on Goku. Galaxies swirling more rapidly within its form. "The young star child, she observed. "Yes, we have been anticipating your arrival." "You have?" Goku asked, surprised. "Time flows differently here," Celia explained, her mental voice carrying a musical quality that reminded Goku of wind chimes. "Past, present, future, all are reflections in the same cosmic crystal." She gestured gracefully, her crystalline arm leaving trails of stardust in the air. "Please, follow." As they walked across the crystalline landscape, the environment responded to their presence, pathways forming spontaneous Y beneath their feet while structures shifted to create protective canopies from the intense dual starlight. Everywhere they looked, impossible geometries challenged their perception, creating vistas that seemed simultaneously vast and intimate. "This whole planet feels alive," Goku observed, reaching out to touch a nearby crystal formation. It responded to his contact, colors shifting within its structure. "Because it is," Celia confirmed. "Kronos V is a living entity, one of the cosmic ancients. What you perceive as a planet is merely its physical manifestation in this dimensional plane. So we're basically walking on a giant cosmic being?" Krillin asked nervously. "In a manner of speaking," Celia replied, amusement coloring her mental voice. "Though Kronos perceives your presence Re is a pleasant interaction than an intrusion." Their path led them toward what appeared to be the planet's central formation, a massive crystalline structure that towered miles into the atmosphere. Its complex geometry constantly shifting yet somehow maintaining perfect stability. Within its translucent walls, energy patterns flowed like blood through veins, carrying information rather than nutrients. "The heart of prophecy," Celia introduced as they approached. "Where all timelines converge and diverge. Here, we will find the answers you seek." Even Ayame seemed impressed by the structure, her celestial composure momentarily overcome by genuine wonder. "This predates current divine administrative structures," she murmured. "The energy patterns are unfamiliar, yet somehow resonant with celestial frequencies." "The temple exists in liminal space," Celia explained, "neither fully mortal nor entirely divine. It remembers when such distinctions were less absolute. As they entered the massive structure, the ambient light shifted to a soft blue gold, remarkably similar to Goku's elevated energy state. Within, the space expanded impossibly, revealing a vast central chamber that appeared to contain miniature versions of entire galaxies, swirling in complex patterns around a central dais. Dimensional transcendence, Misa whispered in scientific awe. The internal space exists partially outside conventional physics. Celia led them to the central dais, where a single crystal pedestal stood. Unlike the shifting patterns elsewhere, this crystal remained perfectly still, an anchor point in a sea of cosmic motion. Young Saiyan, Celia addressed Goku directly, place your hands upon the oracle crystal. It will reveal what you need to know. Goku approached without hesitation, his natural curiosity overcoming any potential caution. As his palms touched the crystal's smooth surface, it immediately illuminated from within, energy patterns racing along complex internal pathways. Images began to form within the crystal. Visible to everyone present, they watched as a much younger Beerus, recognizable but somehow less refined in his destructive technique, engaged in battle with a shadowy entity of immense power. The conflict was catastrophic, entire star systems reduced to cosmic dust as collateral damage. The First Ascension War, Celia narrated as the images played out. Lord Beerus was newly appointed as God of Destruction, a mortal being attempted to breach the divine hierarchy through forbidden means. The crystal showed the shadowy figure absorbing the energy of dying stars. Growing more powerful with each celestial death, its form became increasingly divine in appearance, yet somehow wrong, distorted, unnatural. The Collector, Celia named the entity. A.M. Ortal, who discovered that divine energy could be harvested from cosmic cataclysms. He accumulated power never meant for mortal vessels, ascending toward godhood through sacrifice rather than appointment. The battle continued within the crystal, Beerus finally prevailing after a conflict that appeared to last for decades. Yet rather than destroying his opponent completely, the young god of Destruct Qian implemented a complex binding technique, sealing the Collector in a prison between dimensions. Why didn't he just destroy him? Krillin asked. Because the Collector had absorbed too much divine energy. Ayame answered before Celia could, her expression grave. Destroying him completely would have released that energy chaotically, potentially destabilizing the cosmic balance. Celia nodded in acknowledgement. Precisely. Instead, Lord Beerus created a sealed dimensional pocket to contain both the Collector and his harvested energy, a prison that would hold for eons. The crystal's images shifted, now showing a familiar sight, Earth. Specifically Kame House, where Beerus had first encountered Goku. But what does this have to do with Goku? Lien asked. The crystal responded by showing images, energy patterns flowing from various points in the universe, converging subtly toward Earth. The pattern accelerated as it approached the present day, then continued forward into possible futures. A convergence, Celia explained. Celestial energy has been gradually accumulating on your planet for generations, a natural cosmic phenomenon that occurs rarely but significantly. This NCE reached a critical threshold recently. The crystal zoomed in on Goku, displaying his energy signature with remarkable detail. Within it, barely perceptible even with the crystal's enhancement, was a tiny mode of energy that resonated at divine frequency. You carry a seed of divine potential, Celia told him directly. Not godhood itself, but the capacity to briefly channel divine energy through a mortal form. What celestials call divine resonance capacity. Is that why Beerus noticed him? Master Zenith asked. Partially, Celia confirmed. But there is more. The crystal, please. The images shifted again, now showing the Collector's prison beginning to weaken, hairline fractures appearing in its dimensional walls. After millennia of confinement, the Collector's prison has begun to deteriorate, Celia explained. Lord Beerus awakened prematurely because he sensed this disturbance, however subconsciously. And Goku, Lien pressed. The divine resonance capacity within him represents a potential key, Celia answered. The galaxies within her crystalline form swirling faster. His unusual ability to adapt to and potentially channel divine energy makes him uniquely capable of affecting divine-level threats. The crystal's final images showed a three-way confrontation, Beerus, Goku, and a partially liberated Collector, energy flowing between them in complex patterns that defied simple interpretation. Lord Beerus's challenge was not merely capricious, Celia concluded as the crystal's light faded. Whether he consciously realizes it or not, he is preparing you for a role in the coming conflict. The blow you must land is not just a test, it's preparation. Silence fell over the group as they absorbed this revelation. Goku stared at his hands, flexing them thoughtfully as he considered the crystal's revelations. So I'm supposed to help fight this collector guy? He finally asked. The future remains fluid, Celia cautioned. What you have seen is the most probable convergence point, not an absolute destiny. Your choices, and those of Lord Beerus, will determine the actual outcome. Ayame had been uncharacteristically quiet, her perfect features showing genuine concern. If the collector escapes completely, she said slowly, the cosmic balance would face unprecedented disruption. Even Lord Beerus might be challenged, especially if the collector has continued to accumulate energy during his imprisonment. That's why we need to continue my training, Goku concluded with straightforward determination. If I can land a blow on Beerus, maybe I can help against this other threat too. Master Zenith nodded thoughtfully. The crystal's revelations provide context for our journey. The techniques we've been developing, particularly the energy frequency modulation, become even more critical. Celia's crystalline form shifted slightly, galaxies realigning within her translucent body. I can offer additional guidance, she said, addressing Goku directly. My Nature allows me to perceive energy patterns across different frequency spectrums. I can help refine your technique for the coming challenge. That would be amazing, Goku replied enthusiastically. When do we start? Immediately, Celia answered. But first, there is something else you should see. She led them deeper into the temple, through corridors that seemed to extend infinitely in impossible directions, yet somehow remained navigable. Eventually, they reached a smaller chamber dominated by a perfect sphere of crystal that hovered above a pedestal, rotating slowly. The chronosphere, Celia introduced. It allows limited viewing of divergent timelines, realities that might have been or might yet be. With a graceful gesture, she activated the sphere, which immediately filled with swirling mist. Observe the path not taken, the timeline where Beerus awakened at his originally scheduled time. The mist cleared to show an older Goku, perhaps in his 40s, with extraordinary power facing a vastly different set of challenges. They glimpsed fragments of battles with beings called androids, a creature named Cell, and eventually a pink entity of tremendous destructive capacity. In this timeline, you never developed divine resonance capacity until much later in life, Celia explained. Your journey took different paths, facing different adversaries. The sphere shifted again, showing the adult Goku finally encountering Beerus, but as a fully mature warrior with established techniques and allies. Fascinating, Master Zenith murmured. The convergence still occurred, but under vastly different circumstances. Quote, Indeed, Celia confirmed. Some cosmic events are fixed points. They occur across multiple timelines, though their specifics may vary dramatically. Goku watched his alternate self with curious detachment. He's really strong, he observed. But he looks heavier somehow. Like he's carrying more. Perceptive, Celia commented. In that timeline, you experienced many additional losses and hardships before reaching this point. Your journey was longer, more arduous. The sphere deactivated, the misty images dispersing. I show you this not to distract, but to illustrate that your current path, challenging as it seems, may ultimately serve greater purpose. Krillin shook his head in wonder. It's a lot to take in. Gods, cosmic prisoners, alternate timelines. Yet through it all, Master Zenith noted, the central challenge remains the same, preparing Goku to land a blow on Lord Beerus. Perhaps we should refocus on that immediate goal. Celia nodded her crystalline form in agreement. Wise counsel. The future will unfold as it must, but the present requires action. She turned to Goku. Are you prepared to begin more intensive training? Definitely, he replied without hesitation. If I've got some kind of divine resonance thing, I want to learn how to use it properly. Then we shall commence immediately, Celia stated. The temple will provide optimal conditions for developing this capacity. Before they could proceed, however, alarms suddenly blared from their ship's communication system. Lien rushed to activate the receiver, her expression growing grave as she listened to the transmission. "It's from Earth," she reported tensely. "Emergency signal from the Temple of Celestial Knowledge. They're under attack." "The equilibrium again?" Krillin asked worriedly. Lien shook her head. "Worse. The message mentions shadow entities and Star Eaters, descriptions consistent with servants of the Collector." Master Zenith's expression darkened. "If the Collector's minions have located the temple, they may be searching for information about Goku, or worse, attempting to use the temple's cosmic knowledge to accelerate their master's release. We need to go back," Goku stated immediately, his voice allowing no argument. "Earth is in danger because of me." "Agreed," Zenith said after brief consideration. "The temple contains no edge that could be catastrophic in the wrong hands. We must return immediately." Celia observed their exchange silently before speaking. "I will accompany you," she announced. "The coming conflict may require my particular perspective." Everyone stared in surprise. Ayame was the first to find her voice. "A keeper leaving their assigned cosmic locale. That violates numerous divine protocols. These are unprecedented circumstances," Celia replied simply. "The convergence takes priority over standard protocols." With that settled, they hurried back to their vessel, making hasty preparations for departure. As they lifted off from the crystalline surface of Chronos 7, Goku gazed out at the extraordinary planet one last time. "We'll come back to continue training after we deal with this," he promised Celia, who had somehow integrated herself with the ship's structure, her crystalline form merging partially with the bulkhead. "Time flows differently here," she reminded him, her mental vow. Ice serene despite the urgency of their mission. What matters is not when, but if. The journey back to Earth would take several days even with their ship's enhanced capabilities. As they entered hyperspace, Goku found himself staring into the swirling dimensional corridor, his thoughts uncharacteristically solemn. Earth was in danger. His friends at the temple were under attack. And somewhere in the vastness of space, a god of destruction waited for their appointed confrontation, perhaps watching these developments with knowing eyes. The true test, it seemed, was about to begin. Chapter 3. God and Mortal. Earth's atmosphere burned with unnatural fire as the ship descended through layers of distortion. What should have been clear blue skies instead roiled with shadows that moved with predatory intelligence, consuming light rather than merely blocking it. From the viewport, Goku observed his home planet with grim determination, barely recognizing the landscape below. "Those aren't just atmospheric anomalies," Master Zenith stated, studying the readings from the ship's sensors. "They're dimensional fractures. Reality itself is being compromised." Lien piloted the vessel with expert precision despite the turbulence, navigating through shifting corridors of stable space. The epicenter appears to be directly over the Temple of Celestial Knowledge. "Whatever's happening, it's already progressed further than the distress call indicated." Celia's crystalline form pulsed with concerned light patterns as she interfaced with the ship's systems. Chronometric readings show localized temporal distortion. The entities attacking Earth aren't merely physical, they're attempting to alter your planet's dimensional alignment. In plain language, Krillin asked anxiously, "They're trying to transform Earth into a gateway." Ayame translated, her usual celestial detachment replaced by genuine urgency. If successful, the Collector could use it to escape his prison without waiting for the natural deterioration of his confinement. Goku's expression hardened as he tightened the wrappings around his wrists, a fighter's instinctive preparation for battle. The past year had transformed him physically. He stood taller, his musculature more defined though still proportionate to his youthful frame. But the most significant changes weren't visible, they resided in his energy signature, which now contained subtle harmonics that occasionally resonated at frequencies beyond typical mortal key. "How much time do we have?" he asked, voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. Misa's hair filaments cycled through analytical patterns as she processed sensor data. Based on dimensional degradation rates, approximately 6 hours before irreversible breach occurs. "Then we have 6 hours to stop them," Goku concluded simply. He turned to Master Zenith. "What's our plan?" The ancient master studied holographic projections of the temple region. The attackers appear to be concentrated in 3 locations: the temple itself, the sacred grove to the east, and the mountain nexus to the north. Each site corresponds to a natural energy convergence point. We should split up, Lien suggested practically. Cover more ground. Against servants of the Collector. Too risky, Master Zenith countered. These entities feed on isolated targets. We stay together, address each threat sequentially. Ayame, who had been silent during most of the descent, spoke with uncharacteristic hesitation. There's another option. All eyes turned to her. I could request celestial intervention. Lord B. Russ would not permit the Collector's escape, it would disrupt his domain's balance. Wouldn't that violate your observation protocols? Misa asked curiously. A flash of conflict crossed Ayame's perfect features. Yes, but these circumstances exceed standard parameters. How would you even contact him? Krillin wondered. I possess limited communication access to Whis, she explained. Though using it would complicate my standing as an apprentice. Goku considered this for a moment before shaking his head. No, this is my home, my responsibility. His eyes met Ayame's directly. Besides, if Beerus fixed this for us, I'd never know if I could have faced him as an equal. Something shifted in Ayame's expression, respect mingled with exasperation. Saiyans and their pride, she murmured, though without her former disdain. It's not pride, Goku corrected gently. It's about growing stronger through challenges. That's always been my path. The ship broke through the final layer of atmospheric disturbance, giving them their first clear view of the temple complex. The once serene mountain sanctuary now stood at the center of a maelstrom of dark energy. Shadowy figures moved through the ancient courtyards, their forms inconsistent as though constantly shifting between different possible shapes. At the temple's center, a pillar of violet-black energy stretched skyward, connecting to a developing vortex in the upper atmosphere. Star Eaters, Celia identified the entities, her mental voice carrying notes of ancient recognition. The Collector's most dedicated servants. They consume stellar energy to feed their master's prison, sustaining him while simultaneously weakening the dimensional barriers. Can they be defeated physically? Goku asked, already analyzing potential approaches. Their forms exist partially outside conventional space-time, Celia explained. Physical attacks alone will be insufficient. You must disrupt their energy patterns while simultaneously engaging their physical manifestations. Lien guided the ship to a landing position approximately 2 miles from the temple, close enough for quick access but hopefully beyond the immediate detection range of the entities. As they disembarked, the oppressive nature of the dimensional distortion hit them physically. The air felt thick, resisting movement, while colors seemed muted except for occasional flashes of unnatural violet. Remember your frequency modulation training, Ayame instructed as they moved toward the temple with cautious speed. The Star Eaters operate on similar principles to divine energy, but corrupted, inverted harmonics designed to unravel reality rather than maintain it. Goku nodded, focusing his ki with practiced precision. The techniques he'd developed over the past year, energy frequency modulation, dimensional awareness, celestial harmonics, had prepared him specifically for threats beyond conventional martial arts. As they approached the outer perimeter of the temple grounds, he could sense the wrongness emanating from the shadowy figures, like notes played deliberately out of key in a cosmic symphony. There, Lien whispered, pointing toward what had once been the temple's main gate. 3 Star Eaters hovered there, their forms resembling elongated humanoids composed of swirling darkness. Occasional breaks in their shadowy substance revealed glimpses of star-filled voids within, not merely darkness but the absolute vacuum of deep space. Maintain energy suppression until we're in position, Master Zenith instructed. Goku, you'll lead with disruptive harmonics. Krillin, Lien, target their manifestation points once Goku creates openings. Misa, defensive countermeasures for everyone. What about me? Ayame asked with surprising willingness to participate. Your celestial energy will draw their attention immediately, Zenith cautioned. Stay in reserve unless absolutely necessary. Celia, whose crystalline form shimmered with suppressed power, added, I will establish a temporal anchor point. Should dimensional stability completely fail, it will provide a retreat option of last resort. They moved into position with practiced coordination, evident of the teamwork they'd developed during their interplanetary training journey. Goku felt an unusual calm settle over him as he prepared to engage, not the excited anticipation that once characterized his approach to battle. but a focused determination born of purpose and responsibility. At Master Zenith's signal, Goku launched forward with explosive speed, hands already forming the complex patterns Ayame had taught him. His ki manifested visibly, not as conventional energy but as rippling waves that distorted space itself around his form. As he closed with the first Star Eater, he released a precisely modulated energy pulse designed to disrupt its dimensional frequency. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The shadowy entity convulsed, its form momentarily solidifying as its connection to its extra-dimensional source wavered. Lien and Krillin capitalized instantly, striking the manifestation points Celia had identified, junctions where the entity's form connected most strongly to physical reality. Energy signature destabilizing, Misa called out, her nanite swarms forming real-time analytical displays around her. Maintain disruption for 3.7 seconds to force complete materialization. Goku intensified his frequency modulation, feeling the strain as his mortal body channeled energies it wasn't naturally designed to contain. His aura shifted toward the now familiar blue gold of the penumbra state, not fully divine energy but pushing the boundaries of what mortal ki could achieve. The Star Eater screeched, a sound that seemed to bypass conventional hearing and resonate directly within their minds. Its companions immediately abandoned their positions, flowing like liquid shadow toward their threatened comrade. Misa's defensive systems activated automatically, creating barriers of counter-frequency energy that temporarily slowed their advance. First entity reaching critical destabilization, she reported, her hair filaments glowing bright with excitement despite the danger. 15 seconds to complete materialization. The partially materialized Star Eater lashed out with tendrils of void energy that seemed to erase whatever they touched from existence. Goku dodged with preternatural speed, maintaining his disruption technique while avoiding direct contact with the deadly appendages. Krillin and Lien continued their coordinated assault, their attacks now visibly damaging the increasingly solid form. Almost there, Krillin shouted, launching a modified Destructo disc that incorporated frequency modulation principles. The energy disc sliced through the Star Eater's now material shoulder, causing it to emit another mind-piercing shriek. Without warning, the other two entities merged into a single larger form, abandoning their attempt to reach their company. On in favor of a direct assault on the perceived primary threat, Goku. The combined shadow entity moved with impossible speed, flowing across the intervening space like a tidal wave of darkness. Goku, disengage, Master Zenith ordered sharply, but Goku had committed fully to the disruption technique, knowing that abandoning it now would allow the first entity to re-establish its extra-dimensional connection. With split-second calculation, he made his decision, continuing the disruption while simultaneously preparing to receive the incoming attack. The massive shadow entity crashed into him with devastating force. Where it touched his skin, Goku felt not pain but absence, as though parts of his being were being unmade. Yet rather than recoiling, he did something that shocked even his companions. He grabbed hold of the shadow substance, physically grappling with what should have been intangible, and channeled his disruptive energy directly into its core. Impossible, Ayame whispered, watchi. As Goku's blue-gold aura expanded to envelop portions of the shadow entity. He's directly manipulating interdimensional matter with mortal energy. The gamble paid off spectacularly. The original Star Eater, now fully materialized, collapsed into a crystalline form that Celia quickly contained within a temporal stasis field. Simultaneously, the merged entity Goku grappled with began to fragment, its composite nature destabilized by the direct energy injection. Now, Goku shouted through gritted teeth, his muscles straining against forces that defied physical laws. His companions responded instantly. Krillin and Lien launched synchronized energy attacks targeting the fragmentation points, while Misa's nanites swarmed into the developing fissures, delivering precisely calibrated counter-frequency pulses. The combined assault caused the merged entity to separate violently back into two distinct Star Eaters, both significantly weakened and partially materialized. Master Zenith seized the opportunity, implementing an ancient sealing technique he'd prepared. Complex symbols appeared in the air around the disoriented entities, contracting rapidly to form constraints that bound them to conventional space-time. Within moments, they too collapsed into crystalline forms, their extra-dimensional aspects forcibly compressed into physical matter. 3 down, Goku observed, breathing heavily but quickly recovering. The brief contact with the void energy had left faint black traces on his skin that gradually faded as his naturally resilient ki repaired the damage. But those were just guards, weren't they? Celia nodded, her crystalline form. Sentinels only. The primary incursion forces will be at the temple's heart, where the dimensional thinning is most pronounced. They progressed inward, encountering increasing signs of devastation. Ancient structures lay partially dissolved where void energy had touched them, while other sections appeared bizarrely preserved, frozen in temporal stasis or looped in repeating moments that showed the same stone falling endlessly or water droplets perpetually suspended in midair. The dimensional boundaries are severely compromised, Ayame noted with growing concern. Reality itself is becoming malleable here. Can it be repaired? Goku asked. If we stop the incursion quickly enough, she replied, natural cosmic regulatory forces will gradually restore stability. If not, she left the implications unspoken. As they approached the temple's central courtyard, they encountered the first survivors, temple guardians led by a wounded but defiant elder. Lien recognized him immediately. Master Sozin, she exclaimed, rushing to help the injured guardian. What happened? They came without warning, Sozin explained, his voice weak but determined. Shadows that walked through our barriers as though they didn't exist. They went directly to the Celestial Archive, took the Convergence Codex, then began the ritual at the Nexus Point. Master Zenith's expression darkened. The Codex contains mapping coordinates for all major dimensional weak points on Earth. With it, they could accelerate the gateway creation exponentially. How many attackers remain? Goku asked directly. 7 Star Eaters, Sozin answered. And something worse, a being they call the Harbinger. Not fully manifested yet, but growing stronger as the dimensional barriers weaken. The Collector's primary agent, Celia explained, her mental voice grave. An extension of his consciousness given semi-independent form. Goku processed this information quickly, adapting their approach. We need to split up now, he decided. Master Zenith, take Lien and Misa to secure the sacred grove, stop them from establishing a triangulation point. Krillin, you and Cell, Ia head to the mountain nexus for the same reason. His eyes hardened with determination. Ayame and I will confront the Harbinger directly. That's too dangerous, Krillin protested immediately. Yo, you can't face their strongest force with just a celestial apprentice. Ayame interrupted, a hint of her former haughtiness returning. Your concern is noted but unnecessary. It's not that, Krillin clarified quickly. But if this Harbinger is directly connected to the Collector, then it requires someone with divine resonance capacity, Goku completed the thought. And someone with actual celestial energy. Together, we have the best chance of disrupting whatever ritual they're performing. Master Zenith studied Goku thoughtfully before nodding. Your reasoning is sound. The EAR of training has made you not just stronger, but wiser in your application of strength. He placed a hand on Goku's shoulder. Be careful, young Saiyan. Remember that sometimes victory comes not from power alone but from understanding your opponent's nature. With that wisdom imparted, they separated, each group moving toward their designated targets. As Goku and Ayame proceeded toward the temple's nexus point, a palpable tension developed between them, not adversarial but charged with unspoken significance. Your decision to face the Harbinger directly is either extremely brave or profoundly foolish. Ayame finally commented as they navigated increasingly distorted corridors. Perhaps both. Goku grinned despite the gravity of their situation. You've been watching me for almost a year now. Which do you think it is? The celestial apprentice was silent for several steps before responding with unprecedented candor. I think you may be the most remarkable mortal I've encountered in 8,000 years of existence. When Goku's eyebrows rose in surprise, she added quickly, that's an observation, not a compliment. Sounds like a compliment to me, he replied, his smile widening momentarily before returning to focused determination as they approached the central chamber. What had once been the temple's meditation nexus now resembled the eye of a cosmic storm. The chamber's physical boundaries remained technically intact, but reality within had become fluid, sections of floor and ceiling existing simultaneously in multiple states or locations. At the center floated a sphere of concentrated void energy, within which complex geometric patterns rotated in impossible configurations, the ritual Sozin had mentioned. Surrounding the sphere were 5 Star Eaters, their shadowy forms arranged in a pentagonal formation as they channeled energy into the central phenomenon. But most concerning was the figure overseeing the ritual, a partially manifested entity that seemed to shift between humanoid form and something far more alien. Where the Star Eaters were composed of shadow and void, this being, presumably the Harbinger, consisted of compressed stellar material, its body resembling a human-shaped portion of a neutron star, dense beyond comprehension and radiating deadly energy. The dimensional thinning is nearly complete, Ayame whispered, analyzing the ritual. There, creating a direct conduit to the Collector's prison. Goku studied the scene with tactical precision. The Star Eaters are maintaining the ritual, but the Harbinger is powering it. If we disrupt them simultaneously. Agreed. Ayame began tracing complex patterns in the air, celestial energy flowing from her fingertips. I can create a temporal displacement field around the ritual sphere, it won. Stop it completely but should slow its progression significantly. Then I'll handle the Harbinger, Goku decided, already beginning the mental preparation for energy frequency modulation. Before they could implement their strategy, however, the Harbinger turned toward them, revealing a face that constantly shifted between different possible configurations, yet somehow always maintained an expression of cold calculation. The Resonant One arrives, it stated, its voice modulating between frequencies that made Goku's teeth vibrate. Your energy signature has been anticipated, Son Goku. Goku stepped forward, placing himself between the entity and Ayame. Then you know I'm here to stop you. The Harbinger's fluid features approximated a smile. Stop us. You are the catalyst, young Saiyan. Your unique energy signature is the final component required for our master's liberation. This revelation caused even Ayame to falter momentarily in her preparations. A trap, she realized. They didn't just attack Earth because it's your home, they specifically needed your presence. Precisely, Celestial One, the Harbinger confirmed. The divine resonance capacity within this mortal creates East perfect harmonic bridge between dimensions. We merely needed to bring him here, to this nexus point, at precisely this moment. Understanding dawned on Goku with chilling clarity. The equilibrium attacks, the timing of everything. You've been manipulating events to bring me back to Earth. The equilibrium serves cosmic balance in their limited way, the Harbinger explained dismissively. We merely redirected their attention at opportune moments. They are tools, as are you. Despite the gravity of the revelation, Goku's determination remained unshaken. Well, this tool isn't cooperating with your plans. His aura began to manifest, the characteristic blue gold of his elevated state, but more stable, more controlled than ever before. Ayame, proceed with the temporal displacement. I'll handle this. The celestial apprentice hesitated only briefly before continuing her complex technique, recognizing that their strategy remained sound despite the Harbinger's revelations. As her hands completed the final motions, a wave of distortion expanded outward, enveloping the ritual sphere and visibly slowing the rotation of its geometric components. The Harbinger's expression shifted to one of mild annoyance. A temporary inconvenience, it stated before turning its full attention to Goku. Now, Saiyan, shall we proceed with your true purpose? Without waiting for a response, it attacked. Moving with speed that defied conventional physics. One moment it stood across the chamber, the next it materialized directly before Goku, a hand composed of compressed stellar matter reaching for his chest. But Goku's training hadn't been conventional either. His body responded instinctively, shifting slightly into the penumbra state as he executed a perfect counter, his movements flowing with the liquid grace he had developed under Celia's guidance. His fist, wreathed in blue gold energy, connected solidly with the Harbinger's solar dense form. The impact released a shockwave that temporarily stabilized the chaotic dimensional fluctuations throughout the chamber. The Harbinger staggered backward, genuine surprise registering on its fluid features. Impossible, it stated. No mortal should be able to affect this manifestation directly. Goku settled into a fighting stance developed specifically for dimensional combat. I'm full of surprises. The battle that ensued defied conventional description. The Harbinger attacked with techniques that manipulated fundamental forces. Gravity became a weapon, electromagnetic energy a shield, strong nuclear force a blade that threatened to split atoms with each swing. Goku countered with the culmination of his year's training, energy frequency modulation allowing his ki to adapt to each attack, dimensional awareness enabling him to anticipate spatial distortions, and celestial harmonics disrupting the Harbinger's connection to its extra-dimensional power source. Around them, the Star Eaters abandoned their ritual positions to intervene. But Ayame engaged them with unprecedented directness. Her celestial techniques, previously limited by self-imposed restrictions, now manifested fully as she created localized time distortions that trapped 3 Star Eaters in temporal loops while she systematically dismantled the others with precisely applied counter-frequency attacks. The ritual is destabilizing, she called to Goku as she contained another entity. Whatever you're doing to the Harbinger is affecting its control of the process. The Harbinger, recognizing the increasing threat Goku posed, suddenly changed tactics. Rather than continuing direct combat, it flowed backward, merging partially with the ritual sphere. If I cannot use you willingly, I shall use you regardless, it declared. The geometric patterns within the sphere realigned, now focusing directly on Goku. Tendrils of void energy lashed out, attempting to ensnare him. These weren't physical attacks but dimensional hooks designed to catch and pull his Uni-K energy signature into the ritual matrix. Goku dodged with incredible agility, but the tendrils adjusted their trajectory mid-path, homing in on his divine resonance capacity with unerring precision. One brushed against his shoulder, instantly creating a connection that began to drain his energy directly into the sphere. Goku! Ayame shouted in alarm, abandoning her current opponent to rush toward him. With tremendous effort, Goku modified his energy frequency on the fly, temporarily suppressing his divine resonance to break the connection. The tendril dissolved, but the brief contact had provided the ritual with a template. The sphere pulsed with new power as the geometric patterns accelerated their rotation. A temporary setback, the Harbinger stated from within the sphere. The process has begun. Even without your direct participation, the gateway will now form, merely at a slower rate. Indeed, the ritual sphere had begun expanding, its boundaries pushing outward as reality warped more severely around it. Through the distortions, a new space became visible, a dimensional pocket containing a massive crystalline prison, within which a shadow larger than worlds stirred with awakening consciousness. The Master comes, the Harbinger intoned with something approaching reverence. After eons of confinement, the Collector returns. Goku and Ayame exchanged grim looks, both recognizing the escalating danger. We need to collapse that gateway, Goku stated. Any ideas? Ayame analyzed the expanding phenomenon with growing concern. The ritual uses your energy signature as a template, but inverted, creating an opposing frequency that thins the dimensional barriers. Theoretically, introducing a third harmonic at precisely the correct frequency could create a destructive interference pattern. Like using one wave to cancel out another, Goku translated, his intuitive grasp of complex principles once again surprising her. But where do we get this third frequency? Before Ayame could respond, the chamber shook violently as new energy cascaded from the ritual sphere. The dimensional pocket had grown large enough to provide a clear view of the Collector's prison, and of the massive entity within, now pressing against its crystalline constraints with palpable malevolence. We're out of time, Ayame said urgently. That prison was designed to contain divine-level energy. If it breaks here, within this dimensional instability, Goku made a split-second decision, drawing on everything he had learned. I'm going to try something. Be ready to get us out of here if it fails. Before Ayame could protest, Goku moved directly toward the expanding gateway, his aura shifting from blue-gold to something new, a vibrant white tinge with hints of violet, neither fully mortal nor truly divine, but something uniquely his own. What are you doing? The Harbinger demanded, genuine concern entering its voice for the first time. Introducing a third frequency, Goku replied with focused calm. Then, turning to Ayame, he added quietly, remember what Celia taught us about harmonic convergence points. Understanding dawned in Ayame's eyes. Goku, that technique is theoretical. Even celestial beings approach it cautiously. Theory becomes practice when there's no alternative, he responded with a slight smile. Then, his expression hardening with determination, he threw both hands directly into the ritual sphere. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Goku's uniquely modulated energy, the product of a year's intensive training in frequency manipulation, CRET. Exactly the destructive interference pattern Ayame had described. The geometric components of the ritual began to vibrate discordantly, their perfect synchronization disrupted by the introduction of a third harmonic that neither belonged to mortal reality nor the collector's prison dimension. No, the Harbinger cried out, its form beginning to destabilize as the ritual it was partially merged with collapsed. The gateway is essential. The master must return. Not today, Goku replied through gritted teeth, maintaining his energy output despite the obvious strain it placed on his mortal form. Veins stood out on his forehead, and the white-violet aura surrounding him fluctuated wildly as his body struggled to channel forces it wasn't naturally designed to contain. Ayame moved to his side, momentarily setting aside all celestial protocols. "You can't maintain this alone," she stated, not asking permission before placing her hands alongside his. Her pure celestial energy flowed into the matrix, stabilizing Goku's third harmonic and reinforcing the destructive interference pattern. The Harbinger, realizing the imminent failure of its mission, made one desperate attempt to salvage the situation. It fully merged with what remained of the ritual sphere, its solar dense form providing a massive energy influx that temporarily stabilized the collapsing gateway. "The master requires only moments more," it declared. "Your interference comes too late." Indeed, the crystalline prison visible through the gateway had begun to fracture, hairline cracks spreading across its surface as massive shadow within pressed against its weakening constraints. Malevolent awareness radiated through the dimensional opening, ancient, patient, and utterly alien in its perspective. "Ayame," Goku managed between labored breaths. "I need more power to collapse this completely." The celestial apprentice hesitated only momentarily before making a decision that violated thousands of years of training. "Take it," she said, creating a direct energy transfer connection between them, a technique forbidden to use with mortals under normal circumstances. Pure celestial energy flowed into Goku, merging with his unique resonance capacity to create something unprecedented, a perfect synthesis of mortal determination and divine power. His white-violet aura expanded dramatically, now incorporating ks of pure celestial light that stabilized the previously erratic fluctuations. With renewed strength, Goku pushed deeper into the ritual matrix, targeting the fundamental algorithms that maintained the gateway's stability. The Harbinger fought back desperately, redirecting energy from its own manifestation to preserve the opening, but the combined assault proved too powerful to counter. "Even if you close this gateway," the Harbinger declared as its form began to disintegrate, "you have merely delayed the inevitable. The Master's prison weakens naturally with each passing millennium. Another opportunity will arise. Then we'll stop that one too," Goku replied with unwavering resolve. With a final surge of combined energy, they collapsed the gateway completely. The implosion created a CK wave of displaced dimensional energy that radiated outward, restoring natural dimensional boundaries throughout the temple complex. The Harbinger, inextricably linked to the ritual it had maintained, dissolved into component energy that scattered harmlessly into the cosmos. As the chamber returned to normal space-time, Goku staggered backward, physically and energetically depleted by the immense effort. Ayame caught him before he could fall, supporting him with a gentleness that would have been unthinkable when they first met. "That," she stated with uncharacteristic emotion in her voice, "as simultaneously the most reckless and most impressive thing I have ever witnessed a mortal attempt." Goku managed a tired smile. High praise coming from someone who's seen 8,000 years of mortal attempts. Before Ayame could respond, the chamber doors burst open as their companions returned, having successfully secured their respective targets. Their expressions shifted from battle red, innes to relief as they took in the scene. The ritual stopped, the dimensional distortions resolved, and Earth's reality stabilizing around them. "You did it," Krillin exclaimed, rushing to his friend's side. "The distortions at the mountain nexus collapsed suddenly. We figured something big had happened here." Master Zenith surveyed the chamber with knowing eyes. "You collapsed a trans-dimensional gateway through harmonic interference," he observed, not questioning but confirming. "A technique that exists primarily in theoretical texts. Theory becomes practice when necessary," Goku repeated his earlier statement, strength gradually returning to his voice. Celia studied him with heightened interest, the galaxies within her crystalline form swirling rapidly. The resonance pattern within you has evolved, she noted. The divine capacity has integrated more fully with your mortal energy, not merely coexisting but synthesizing. Is that good or bad? Goku asked pragmatically. Unprecedented, she replied, but potentially significant for your coming challenge. The mention of the challenge brought them all back to the reality they had temporarily set aside during the crisis, in less than 2 weeks. Goku was scheduled to face Lord Beerus, with Earth's fate hanging in the balance. We should focus on recovery and final preparations, Master Zenith decided. The temple will need time to heal from these dimensional disturbances, but the immediate danger has passed. As they began the process of assessing damage and assisting injured guardians, Goku found himself approached separate by each of the women who had become central to his journey over the past year. Lien was first, her practical nature asserting itself as she checked him for injuries with professional efficiency. She didn't quite mask her personal concern. That was extraordinarily reckless, she chided gently. Attempting harmonic interference without proper preparation could have atomized you across multiple dimensions. Good thing I had proper preparation then, Goku replied with a tired grin. Your techniques for maintaining focus under dimensional stress probably saved my life in there. Her hands paused in their examination, resting momentarily on his shoulders. I'm glad, she said simply, though her eyes conveyed deeper meaning. There is still much you could learn from the ancient texts, perhaps after your challenge with Lord Beerus. The invitation in her words was clear, though characteristically understated. Before Goku could respond, Misa approached, her hair filaments cycling through colors that reflected complex emotions. The energy readings I recorded during your confrontation with the Harbinger were absolutely revolutionary, she exclaimed, enthusiasm temporarily overriding concern. The harmonic integration patterns between your mortal key and the divine frequency templates show potential applications that could transform our understanding of cross-dimensional physics. Our scientific excitement gradually shifted to something more personal as her hair filaments settled into a warm pink glow. But more importantly, she added more quietly, what you did was incredibly brave. Not just powerful, but innovative in a way I've never witnessed before. Goku rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. I just applied what I learned from your experiments on Nexus Prime. The frequency modulation techniques you developed were the foundation for everything I did in there. Misa's silver eyes widened with pleasure at the acknowledgement. Perhaps you could visit Nexus Prime again someday. As an honored guest rather than a training subject. I could show you the crystal cascades where binary stars create reality ripples that make the impossible briefly possible. Her invitation, though framed in scientific wonder, carried unmistakable personal undertones. Before the conversation could continue, however, Celia approached, her crystalline form shifting subtly to create a semblance of privacy. The convergence proceeds as foreseen, she stated, her mental voice carrying unusual warmth. Though today's confrontation was not precisely as the chronosphere revealed, the essential pattern remains consistent. Meaning? Goku asked, still finding her manner of speaking occasionally cryptic. Meaning your path intersects with cosmic forces in ways both dangerous and potentially transformative, she clarified. What you accomplished today, creating a third harmonic that neither belonged to mortal nor divine spheres, has significant implications for your challenge against Lord Beerus. Her crystalline hand briefly touched his, creating a momentary connection that transmitted understanding beyond words, images of possible futures, branching timelines, and at their center, Goku himself standing at a crossroads of cosmic significance. Should you wish to explore these implications further, she offered, Chronos 7 welcomes your return. Time flows differently there, moments or millennia could pass in equal measure, according to need rather than cosmic dictate. The invitation, though expressed in cosmic terms, contained personal resonance that transcended conventional attraction, a recognition of kindred spirits despite their vastly different natures. As Celia withdrew, Goku found himself momentarily alone, processing these interactions with a mixture of confusion and dawning comprehension. His lifelong focus on martial arts and training had left little room for understanding the complexities of romantic interest, yet he couldn't mistake the meaning behind each woman's words and actions. His contemplation was interrupted by Ayame's approach. Unlike the others, she maintained a careful distance, her celestial composure firmly back in place though something new lingered in her eyes. I violated 17 distinct celestial protocols during our confrontation with the Harbinger, she stated without preamble. Direct energy transfer to a mortal being is expressly forbidden under normal circumstances. Are you in trouble? Goku asked with immediate concern. Technically, yes, she acknowledged. Though given the alternative was potentially allowing the collector to escape confinement. Certain allowances may be made. She paused, choosing her next words with uncharacteristic care. However, my mandatory observation period concludes upon your challenge with Lord Beerus. Regardless of outcome, you'll be leaving, Goku realized, surprised by the twinge of disappointment he felt. Returning to my celestial duties, she corrected, though without her former haughtiness. Unless circumstances were to arise that required continued observation of particularly noteworthy mortal phenomena. It took Goku a moment to recognize that she was, in her distinctly celestial way, suggesting a possibility for continued contact. Before he could respond, she continued more directly than he had ever heard her speak. You have altered my perception of mortal potential, Son Goku. 8,000 years of celestial apprenticeship left me convinced of the unbridgeable divide between mortal and divine spheres. You have demonstrated otherwise. Her perfect features softened marginally. That is significant to me. With that unprecedented admission, she withdrew, leaving Goku to consider the complex web of relationships that had developed during his year of preparation. Krillin approached, having observed the various interactions from a respectful distance. Quite a collection of admirers you've gathered, he commented with a mixture of amusement and genuine respect. A celestial apprentice, an ancient guardian, a cosmic keeper, and a genius scientist. Not bad for a year's work. Goku sighed, looking more uncertain than Krillin had ever seen him. Fighting is straightforward. There's a clear objective, clear techniques to master. This is complicated. Krillin laughed gently. Welcome to something more challenging than facing gods, my friend. His expression grew more serious. But that particular challenge still awaits. What's your plan for Beerus? Goku's focus immediately sharpened, uncertainty replaced by familiar determination. 2 weeks of intensive preparation. Everything I've learned, everything I've experienced, it all comes down to landing a single solid blow. Do you think you can do it? Krillin asked, the question carrying all the weight of Earth's potential fate. Goku looked toward the horizon, where the dimensional distortions had fully cleared, returning Earth's sky to its natural blue. I have to try, he answered simply. And after today, I think I understand exactly what approach I need to take. 2 weeks later, Goku stood alone on a devastated moon that orbited a distant gas giant, the designated battlefield chosen by Beerus himself. The lunar surface bore ancient scars from previous divine conflicts, craters overlapping craters in testimony to the destructive power of godly confrontations. He had spent the intervening time in final preparation, not merely physical training but also deep meditation on everything he had learned about divine energy, frequency modulation, and his own unique resonance capacity. Master Zenith had provided final guidance based on ancient texts, while Celia had shared insights from her timeless perspective. Misa had contributed technological analysis of his evolving energy patterns, and Lien had taught him final techniques from the temple's most sacred scrolls. Most surprisingly, Ayame had offered direct instruction in celestial energy principles during their Fina days together, a level of teaching she had previously considered inappropriate for mortals. Under her guidance, Goku had refined his ability to temporarily access the penumbra state without the physical strain that had characterized his earlier attempts. Now, as he performed final stretches beneath the gas giant's multicolored light, Goku felt an unusual sense of calm. The past year had transformed him in ways that extended far beyond physical strength. His understanding of energy, his perception of the universe, and his awareness of his own unique place within cosmic patterns had all evolved dramatically. A familiar distortion appeared in the space before him, the characteristic sign of Whis' transportation technique. Moments later, the divine attendant emerged, followed by Lord Beerus himself. The god of destruction looked exactly as Goku remembered from their first meeting, his feline features set in an expression of casual boredom that masked dangerous power. So the monkey has prepared himself for slaughter. Beerus commented, yawning dramatically. I hope you've at least made this interesting, Saiyan. Whis smiled pleasantly. Lord Beerus has been looking forward to this encounter, though he would never admit it. Your progress has been noted. Goku bowed respectfully, a gesture he had learned from Lien, before settling into a relaxed stance. Thank you for the opportunity, Lord Beerus. I've learned a lot this past year. Learning and application are different matters, Beerus replied dismissively. Many students understand theory perfectly yet fail utterly in practice. True, Goku acknowledged. That's why practice is so important. Behind Beerus, several unexpected figures materialized: Master Zenith, Krillin, and the four women who had become integral to Goku's journey. Ayame immediately moved to stand near Whis, resuming her formal role as celestial apprentice, though her eyes remained fixed on Goku. I've taken the liberty of inviting observers, Whis explained. Their various perspectives on your development may prove insightful. Beerus rolled his eyes. Unnecessary sentimentality, but I'll allow it. He stretched languidly before focusing his full attention on Goku. Now then, boy, the terms remain unchanged. Land one solid blow on me, and I'll spare your insignificant world. Fail, and Earth joins countless others in cosmic dust. Goku nodded, his expression serious. I understand. Quote, then begin whenever you're ready, Beerus said with a dismissive wave. Though I warn you, a frontal assault would be suicide. Goku made no immediate move to attack. Instead, he closed his eyes briefly, centering himself as he had practiced countless times over the past year. When his eyes reopened, they held a clarity and focus that caused Beerus's ears to twitch slightly in surprise. Interesting, the god of destruction murmured. Your energy has matured. Without further preamble, Goku began to power up, but not in the conventional manner he would have employed a year earlier. Rather than simply increasing his ki output, he implemented precise frequency modulation, his aura manifesting as layers of energy that vibrated at progressively higher harmonics. The blue-white of standard ki shifted gradually toward blue-gold, then continued evolving into the white-violet spectrum he had briefly accessed during the confrontation with the Harbinger. Beerus observed this display with growing interest, his posture straightening almost imperceptibly. You've learned to adjust your energy frequency, he noted, genuine surprise coloring his tone. Most unexpected for a mortal. I had good teachers, Goku replied, his voice steady despite the obvious strain of maintaining the elevated state. For the first time, Beerus fully focused his attention on his young challenger. Show me what you've learned, Saiyan. Goku launched forward, not with reckless abandon but with calculated precision. His movement incorporated principles from across his reigning journey. The fluidity taught by Celia, the precision developed under Lien, the energy efficiency Misa had emphasized, and the frequency awareness Ayame had instilled. Beerus evaded the initial approach with minimal movement, exactly as he had during their first encounter. But unlike before, Goku had anticipated this response, immediately transitioning into a secondary attack pattern design. Specifically to counter divine movement principles. His hands traced complex patterns in the air, creating momentary distortions in the local space-time fabric, a technique adapted from Master Zenith's teachings. Dimensional manipulation, Beerus remarked, genuine surprise registering as he was forced to expend slightly more effort in his evasion. Now that is unexpected. The god of destruction responded with increased engagement, launching a casual counterattack, a simple finger flick that nonetheless carried enough force to shatter mountains. Goku neither blocked nor dodged conventionally, instead, he implemented harmonic redirection, his aura vibrating at precisely the frequency needed to divert the incoming force around his body rather than absorbing the impact directly. Harmonic redirection as well. Beerus's surprise deepened into genuine interest. Who taught you these techniques, boy? Everyone, Goku answered simply, maintaining perfect focus as he continued his assault. The battle escalated rapidly, Beerus incrementally increasing his engagement as Goku demonstrated technique after technique that should have been beyond mortal comprehension. The lunar surface beneath them cracked and reformed with each exchange, cosmic energy reshaping matter according to the wills of the combatants. From the observation point, the witnesses watched with varying degrees of amazement. He's actually keeping pace, Krillin whispered incredulously. For now, Master Zenith cautioned. Beerus is still treating this as an exhibition, not a genuine contest. Indeed, despite the increasing complexity of their exchange, The god of destruction maintained an air of casual superiority, impressed, perhaps, but not remotely threatened. After several minutes of escalating combat, Ally created distance between them with a casual energy wave that forced Goku to implement full-frequency modulation to avoid serious injury. Enough warming up, Beerus declared, his tone shifting own mild interest to more focused evaluation. Let's see how you handle this. Without apparent effort, he manifested a sphere of Hawkeye energy, the signature destructive force of divine beings, violet-black in coloration and radiating annihilation. With a casual flick, he launched it toward Goku. The observers gasped collectively. Direct contact with Hawkeye energy meant absolute erasure from existence. Ayame actually took a half-step forward before Whis gently restrained her with a knowing smile. Goku faced the approaching destruction without flinching. Drawing on everything he had learned about divine energy principles, he implemented the most advanced technique Ayame had taught him, harmonic neutralization. His white-violet aura intensified, molecules of lunar dust rising around him. Reality itself responded to the energy he channeled. As the Hawkeye sphere reached him, Goku executed a precise sequence of movements, his hands trailing energy that vibrated at frequencies deliberately calibrated to create destructive interference with the divine annihilation. Rather than attempting to block or deflect, which would have been futile, he introduced a third harmonic that temporarily disrupted the sphere's coherence. The Hawkeye energy destabilized just enough for Goku to navigate through its structure without direct contact, emerging on the other side unscathed though visibly strained by the immense concentration required. Beerus blinked, an almost imperceptible acknowledgement of genuine surprise. "You neutralized Hawkeye energy," he stated, his tone impossible to interpret. "A tech, HNIQUE that even many gods approach with caution." "Only temporarily," Goku corrected, breathing heavily. "And not completely, but enough." Indeed. For the first time, Beerus dropped all pretense of boredom. "Perhaps I should take this more seriously." What followed transcended conventional combat. Beerus began employing techniques that manipulated fundamental forces. Gravity became weaponized. Electromagnetic energy formed barriers and blades. Strong and weak nuclear forces were adjusted locally to create effects that defied mortal physics. Goku responded with everything he had developed over his year of preparation. When Beerus compressed gravity to crushing levels, Goku implemented dimensional frequency shifting to partially exist outside the affected space. When divine energy barriers appeared, he applied precise harmonic analysis to identify and exploit resonant frequencies. When Beerus accelerated time locally to increase the speed of his attacks, Goku countered with temporal and choring techniques adapted from Celia's teachings. Throughout it all, he maintained the white-violet aura of elevated energy, not fully divine but pushing the absolute boundaries of what mortal ki could achieve. The strain was visible in every line of his body, sweat pouring down his face, muscles trembling with effort, yet his determination never wavered. "Remarkable," Whis commented from the sidelines. "He's lasted nearly 10 minutes against Lord Beerus's moderate effort. Most divine beings wouldn't manage half as long." Ayame, watching intently, added, "His frequency modulation is holding at near perfect stability. For a mortal body to channel that energy pattern without cellular degradation. It's not just technique," Misa observed, her scientific analysis continuing despite her personal investment in the outcome. "His cellular structure has adapted to accommodate higher energy frequencies, physical evolution accelerated by exposure and determination." Lien nodded in agreement. Ancient texts speak of rare individuals whose bodies could evolve in response to divine exposure. The God touched, they were called. On the battlefield, the confrontation reached new intensity. Beerus finally abandoned all restraint save the absolute minimum required to avoid accidentally destroying the moon entirely. "Enough playing," he declared, his casual manner completely replaced by focused intent. "Show me your absolute best, Saiyan, or this ends now." Goku recognized the shift immediately. The god of destruction was finally taking him seriously. Despite the immense pressure, he felt a surge of exhilaration. This was what he had trained for, what he had pushed himself beyond all previous limitations to achieve, recognition as a worthy opponent by a divine being. "As you wish," he responded, centering himself for what he knew would be his final effort. Drawing on his last reserves, Goku implemented the culmination of everything he had learned, a technique that synthesized all aspects of his training into a single, perfect expression of his unique capabilities. His aura shifted one final time, the white-violet expanding to incorporate streaks of pure celestial light similar to what had manifested during his confrontation with the Harbinger. Divine Resonance. Mortal Ascension. He named the technique as he executed it, giving voice to the concept that had gradually evolved throughout his journey. For a brief, transcendent moment, Goku's energy signature shifted fully into the divine spectrum, not merely approximating God Ki but actually manifesting it through his divine resonance capacity. The transformation wasn't sustained or stable enough to represent true godhood, but it created a momentary bridge between mortal and divine realms, centered within his perfectly focused consciousness. In that singular moment of transcendence, Goku moved with speed that even Beerus found challenging to track. The god of destruction raised a defense out of instinct rather than calculated response, a rare occurrence that testified to the effectiveness of Goku's approach. Their final exchange unfolded in microseconds, Goku implementing a complex three-dimensional attack sequence that incorporated simultaneous strikes from multiple angles through localized dimensional folding, while Beerus responded with equally sophisticated defensive techniques that manipulated space-time to create additional reaction time. The outcome balanced on a cosmic razor's edge, perfect offense meeting perfect defense, transcendent mortal challenging divine perfection. Then, in a move that no one, perhaps not even Goku himself, could have anticipated, he abandoned complex technique entirely. In the millisecond when Beerus adjusted to counter his dimensional folding, Goku simply stopped modulating his energy. The sudden absence of divine frequency energy created a momentary blind spot in Beerus's defense, a microsecond of adjustment as the god recalibrated to track standard mortal ki instead. In that infinitesimal opening, Goku delivered a perfectly conventional punch, the same basic technique Master Roshi had taught him years earlier, executed with flawless precision directly to Beerus's solar plexus. Contact. Solid, undeniable contact. For a breathless moment, the entire battlefield froze in tableau. Goku's fist pressed against Beerus's body, the god of destruction's eyes widened in genuine shock. The observers standing in perfect stillness as they processed what they had just witnessed. Then Beerus smiled, a small, genuine expression devoid of his usual smugness or boredom. "Well played, young Saiyan," he acknowledged, making no attempt to pretend the blow hadn't landed. Most unexpected, Goku withdrew his fist, his extraordinary aura fading as he returned to normal state. Despite complete energy exhaustion, he managed to stand tall, meeting the god of destruction's gaze directly. "Thank you for the opportunity, Lord Beerus," he said with genuine respect. "I've earned more this past year than I thought possible." Before Beerus could respond, a massive distortion suddenly formed in the space above the lunar surface, far larger and more violent than Whis' transportation technique. Reality itself seemed to tear open, creating a rift that radiated malevolent energy. From within emerged a partially materialized figure composed of compressed darkness and stellar energy, immediately recognizable from the crystal's visions at the Temple of Prophecy. The Collector, Celia identified, the galaxies within her crystalline form swirling with alarm. He's breached containment. Indeed, the ancient entity had managed to exploit the unique energy conditions created by Goku and Beerus's confrontation, divine power, mortal resonance, and the resulting harmony. ICS had temporarily weakened dimensional barriers throughout the local region, creating an opportunity for escape. At last, the Collector's voice resonated across the lunar surface, distorted and iron yet carrying unmistakable intelligence. "Freedom after eons of imprisonment. How fitting that you yourself provided the key, Beerus." The god of destruction's expression shifted instantly from rare approval to deadly seriousness. "Your confinement was mercy, Collector. Don't mistake it for weakness." "Mercy." The shadow entity's form rippled with what might have been laughter. "You feared the consequences of destroying me directly. With good reason." The darkness expanded, revealing glimpses of countless absorbed stars and energy signatures within its composition. "I've had millennia to continue my collection. Even from within that prison. Stellar deaths, cosmic catastrophes, all have fed my growth." Beerus's aura manifested fully, deep purple divine energy that radiated destructive potential far beyond what he had displayed during the challenge. Then I shall correct my previous error and erase you completely, he declared, moving into a combat stance rarely witnessed by mortal eyes. You're welcome to try, the collector responded with terrible confidence. But first, a demonstration of what I've become. Without warning, tendrils of void energy lashed out from the entity's amorphous form, targeting not Beerus but the observers, specifically Ayame, whose celestial energy represented the purest power source present besides Beerus himself. Whis moved with impossible speed to intercept, but the collector had anticipated this, creating a secondary attack pattern that momentarily occupied even the divine attendant's attention. As the void tendrils closed on Ayame, Goku, despite his exhausted state, reacted instinctively, throwing himself into the path of the attack. The void energy struck him directly, beginning the process of energy absorption that was the collector's primary method of growth. Goku cried out as he felt his life force being forcibly extracted, not merely ki but his fundamental existence being unmade and consumed. Goku! Multiple voices cried out simultaneously. Beerus, far from being distracted by this development, seized the opportunity it presented. While the collector focused on absorbing Goku's unique energy, the god of destruction launched a full divine assault. Hawkeye energy concentrated to unprecedented levels, focused on the entity's partially materialized core. A noble sacrifice, the collector commented as he continued draining Goku's energy. But ultimately futile. Once I've absorbed your divine resonance capacity, not even Beerus will. He never completed the statement. Something unexpected occurred as the absorption process reached Goku's core energy. The divine resonance capacity that had developed over the past year responded to the threat in unprecedented fashion. Rather than being absorbed passively, it activated fully, creating a feedback loop that reversed the energy flow. What? The collector's voice distorted with genuine alarm. Impossible. Goku, drawing on his last reserves of strength and the culmination of everything he had learned, implemented harmonic reversal, a technique Ayame had theorized but considered impossible for mortals to execute. His energy signature shifted rapidly through multiple frequencies, creating destructive interference patterns within the collector's absorption process. Now, Lord Beerus, he shouted through gritted teeth. The god of destruction needed no further prompting. With perfect timing, he delivered his full divine judgment directly into the destabilized entity, Hawkeye energy penetrating to the collector's core through the opening Goku's frequency disruption had created. No, the ancient entity's form began to disintegrate as divine annihilation spread through its collected energy. I am eternal, I am. The lunar surface shook violently as the collector's accumulate power released in a controlled implosion, Beerus's precise application of Hawkeye ensuring the energy dispersed harmlessly into the cosmos rather than creating catastrophic destruction. When the blinding light faded, no trace remained of the ancient threat, only scattered particles of cosmic dust drifting in the lunar atmosphere. Goku collapsed to his knees, pushed beyond all reasonable limits by the sequence of challenges. Before he could fall completely, multiple hands reached out to support him, Krillin, Lien, Misa, and Celia all arriving simultaneously to catch their fallen friend. Most surprisingly, Ayame reached him first. Celestial dignity forgotten as she supported his weight with unexpected gentleness. Foolish mortal, she whispered, though her tone contradicted her words entirely. Using harmonic reversal in your depleted state could have unmade you completely. Had to try, Goku managed weakly, still conscious despite everything. Couldn't let him take you. Before the moment could develop further, Beerus approached, his expression unreadable as he gazed down at the exhausted Saiyan. For several tense seconds, silence reigned across the devastated lunar surface. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the god of destruction did something none had witnessed before. He bowed slightly to Goku, a gesture of genuine respect from divine to mortal. You have earned Earth's reprieve twice over today, Beerus declared formally, first by meeting my challenge with unexpected ingenuity, then by contributing to the elimination of a threat even I considered formidable. Summoning Street. Ranked from reserves even he didn't know he possessed, Goku managed to stand, accepting the acknowledgement with appropriate gravity. Thank you, Lord Beerus. The god of destruction's serious demeanor held for a moment longer before reverting to something closer to his usual casual manner. Don't let it go to your head, Saiyan. You're still a mere mortal, albeit an unusually interesting one. Indeed, Whis added, approaching with his eternal pleasant smile. Though perhaps, mere, is no longer the appropriate qualifier. He studied Goku with analytical interest. Your divine resonance capacity has fully integrated with your mortal ki, a development I believe unprecedented in this universe's current cycle. Beerus yawned dramatically, though the gesture seemed more habitual than genuine. Yes, the monkey has potential. More importantly, I'm hungry. This entire affair has worked up quite an appetite. Of course, my lord, Whis responded with practiced patience. He turned to the gathered observers. I believe our business here is concluded most satisfactorily. Shall we return you all to Earth? As preparations for departure began, Goku found himself momentarily alone with Beerus. The others giving them space whether by coincidence or design. The collector didn't just happen to appear during our battle, Goku observed quietly. You knew he was close to escaping. That's why you issued the challenge in the first place, isn't it? Beerus studied him with newfound respect. Not as simple-minded as you appear, are you? He sighed dramatically. Let's just say divine beings occasionally operate with multiple objectives. The collector's prison had been deteriorating for centuries. Your unique energy signature represented a potential catalyst, either for his escape or his permanent destruction. So I was bait, Goku concluded without rancor. I prefer the term cosmic variable, Beerus corrected with the faintest hint of amusement. Though I admit, I didn't anticipate you would progress quite so dramatically in a single year. Most impressive. Goku absorbed this information thoughtfully. What happens now? Beerus shrugged with elaborate casualness. I return to my nap, presumably. You continue whatever mortals do with their brief existences. He paused, then added with studied indifference, though perhaps I might check on Earth's development more regularly than originally scheduled. For observational purposes only, of course. Of course, Goku agreed, not bothering to hide his smile. As they rejoined the others for transport back to Earth, Goku found High MSELF at the center of a complex web of relationships and possibilities. Master Zenith's offer of continued ancient wisdom, Leon's invitation to deeper temple knowledge, Misa's enthusiasm for collaborative discovery, Celia's cosmic perspective, and Ayame's unprecedented connection bridging mortal and celestial realms. Quite the decision you face, Krillin commented quietly as they prepared for departure. 4 extraordinary women, each offering a unique path forward. Any idea which you'll choose? Goku looked thoughtful, an expression that would have seemed foreign on his face a year earlier. Quote, maybe the choice isn't about picking just one path, he replied. Maybe it's about finding a way to honor all the connections that have helped me grow. Krillin raised an eyebrow, impressed by the wisdom in his friend's response. When did you get so philosophical? Goku grinned, his characteristic cheerfulness returning as his energy slowly replenished. Spending time with cosmic entities and gods tends to expand your perspective. As Whis activated his staff to transport them back to Earth, Goku took one final look at the devastated lunar battlefield, the site where he had successfully Nged a god of destruction and helped defeat an ancient cosmic threat. The past year had transformed him from a talented young martial artist into something new, neither fully mortal nor truly divine, but uniquely positioned between worlds. The journey had only just begun. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.